Hey there, everybody. Welcome to Fresh Out, the podcast. Now, with 50% less swearing, I am the board game guru and game master extraordinaire, Jahananan.
It's me, Casualty, CDG, retired child crimes and human trafficking detective, turned tabletop titan and improv comedian.
And I am the professional media and movie mastermind, the Funhouse Drew Munhausen, and welcome to episode 39 of Fresh Out the Podcast. It has been a week since Will Smith slapped Chris Rock on stage at the Oscars, but more importantly, it has now been 2.5 days since I saw Morbius.
What do you mean?
What do you mean? What do I mean?
I didn't watch the Oscars. What happened?
This is a bit, right?
I did not watch the Oscars. I don't know what you're talking about.
I didn't watch the Oscars.
Will Smith slapped The Rock?
Oh my god. This is a bit. Y'all planned this beforehand.
I don't know what you're talking about, man.
How would we plan what you were going to say?
Yeah, it's a really good fucking question.
I can't tell if y'all are being serious, if Jahan's serious that he doesn't know about Will Smith slapping Chris Rock at the Oscars.
I did not watch the Oscars.
Do you live under a rock?
I do not. I've been busy. Why? Were people talking about it?
Oh boy. Gary, back me up here.
I didn't watch the Oscars either.
Yeah, I know, but I know for a fact that you know about this situation. Y'all are gonna make me so mad. I'm about to get up and walk away.
Are you talking about The Rock?
No.
I don't know then.
Will Smith. Why?
Okay, the guy from Wild Wild West.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Anyways,
Okay.
I hate both of you. So obviously I've been talking about the Oscars a lot leading up to the ceremony itself that took place last week, and I thought about doing an emergency episode to talk about results of the podcast, but obviously there was one defining event of the ceremony itself that everybody was talking about.
Yeah, apparently the Fresh Prince slapped the actor that plays the young Rock.
And anyways, I just didn't want to add to all of the noise of the conversation that was going on then. That's still going on. And that's kind of still how I feel about it. What I'm happy about is that Coda did win Best Picture.
Coda won Best Picture, okay.
That's awesome.
That's interesting.
Which I was very excited for.
One of the local theaters here, there's like a regular movie theater and there's kind of like an art house theater. And that one's going to be playing Coda for like a week coming up, which I thought was kind of cool.
I saw that it was going to be getting a theatrical run or a limited theatrical run after its win, and I looked at the theaters around me, which of course are all chains, you know, AMC and Regals, and I didn't see anybody that was going to be playing it. So I think that's actually really cool. I've been singing that movie's praises for months. You know, it was in my top 5 of last year. I think it was my number 1 when we did our top 5 movies of last year. So to see it finally come out on top and win the big award, you know, I was really excited for it. And there's been that news of how Apple TV Plus has seen like a 25% spike in users since the Oscars, since its win, and Coda itself, the viewership on it has gone up like 300% since it won. So, yeah, it's great. I'm glad that more people are able to see it. It's the first streaming movie to win Best Picture.
Yeah,
so
that's
Apple's
huge.
The first of the streaming services to get that honor after
But
Netflix has been trying for years.
In my opinion, that is kind of with an asterisk, right? Because Apple didn't make that movie. They bought that movie from like Sundance, right?
Correct. It was a Sundance movie. They spent like a record amount of money on it and put it on their service, and then ran a pretty flawless campaign here at the end of award season. I think if the Oscars had taken place a month sooner, we probably would have seen different results, but the momentum Coda had going into the ceremony, it was like kind of undeniable. I mean, the cast went and visited the White House like 2 weeks before or a week before. I mean,
That's
they're doing
sick.
all kinds of stuff. They were everywhere.
Not to, I mean, I really liked Coda, but not to play it down or anything, but it's also like a remake of a German or a French film also, right?
It is a remake. I can't remember the origin of the original, but it is a
So
remake.
to me, it's like an asterisk on an asterisk, like, hey, yeah, you won with your best streaming movie, except you didn't make it, and it was an American version of a foreign film. Like, it was great. I loved Coda, but
I mean, that's completely fair.
Well, and to your point, it's like you've got all these other movies at the Oscars, like Power of the Dog had 12 nominations between different categories. Dune had a ton of nominations and won all those below the line category, or a lot of them. But like Coda was nominated for 3 awards for Best Adapted Screenplay, because it is an adaptation of the previous one. For Best Supporting Actor for Troy Kotsur, and then for Best Picture. Yeah. And it won all 3 of them. It won the 3 that it was nominated for. So, I can't remember if it was nominated for any other ones, but it was not, it wasn't one of those like record 12, 13 plus nominations. There were no other acting nominations for the movie other than Troy Kotsur. The director wasn't nominated for Best Director, but she did get the screenplay Oscar, so she still walked home with an Oscar. Coda had a really great showing. Power of the Dog won none other than Best Director, which going into the show I thought was going to be a big power player at the Oscars, and it wasn't.
Well, that's good that she won.
I thought that Benadryl Cumberbund might win Best Actor.
I thought if Will Smith wasn't going to win it, he was going to win it, but Will Smith did win it. It just, I look forward to watching the Oscars every year. The Oscars, the organization, the Academy, they have different producers each year that try to go above and beyond to make the show entertaining and do different things. And in the end, most of that stuff, doesn't really work or is cheesy. And usually there's things naturally on their own that happen that are what kind of capture the attention of everybody. Obviously, the Will Smith drama kind of took over the show and is what this show's going to be remembered for. And it's just kind of disappointing for me as somebody that
he slapped the guy from Everybody Hates Chris.
Gosh, this is the worst bit that y'all have trolled me with in the history.
Was it during his acceptance speech?
I'm just going to move on from
Did he slap them with an Oscar?
Oh, that'd be great.
I can't. I know how bad of podcasting this is. I just stare blankly at the screen looking at these guys as they troll me. Oh boy.
I like to think that everyone in their cars are enjoying their work day. They're doing the same thing as you. They just stop and stare blankly. Like, are these guys... What are these guys even doing right now? So I think that you doing it gives them all a moment to breathe.
But yeah, I kind of feel like this thing that I really like and enjoy watching kind of got overshadowed by all this other negativity, and it stinks. It's like, does that even make sense? The sentiment I'm trying to express, it's just.
Nope, because I have no idea what you're talking about.
No. So it was a bad thing. It wasn't staged?
No.
Okay. It wasn't like a bit?
I hate you. Here's what I'll transition into that's for sure not a bit. Morbius.
Are you sure Morbius isn't a bit?
Here's the thing. I genuinely wanted both of y'all to see it originally and for us to do an episode on it because I expected it to be bad, but I thought we would be able to have a fun discussion about it. I did go see it and it was bad, but it's not even fun bad. It's just kind of boring and bad. It's just... Okay, you can absolutely tell that they took the formula for Venom that worked for them. Venom made a lot of money. It's not good, but has its funny moments and it's very bizarre, and Tom Hardy's super charismatic. And they tried to use that same formula. You've got kind of this villain, anti-hero main character who ends up fighting a villain that has, of course, the exact same powers as what he has. So it results in this big CGI fight with random slow-mo parts, like almost exactly the same as the final fight at the end of the first Venom movie. I mean, it is like beat for beat similar in structure, but with none of the fun, none of the humor, none of the charisma, and it is just so bland. Say what you will about Jared Leto, he's definitely not my favorite, but I've definitely seen things with him in it where he's charismatic, or at least he's doing something. And in this, he's just so nothing. He's so boring. Yeah, I couldn't even sit and laugh about how not good this movie was. Like, it wasn't even enjoyable from that standpoint. Which of course, like, me saying that probably is making people want to see it just so they can be like, surely it's not that bad and not that boring. But it is. There's no humor. There's nothing good.
I wish I had anything to add, but based on only a year and a half of trailers, I was pretty sure that Morbius was going to be the worst superhero movie of this year. And, you know, that's sans any independent films. You know, you never know what indie directors are going to do. Those don't count. But I don't think that another major studio is going to make a worse superhero movie this year. And maybe not a worse movie. This might be the worst movie of the year.
And so, and Matt Smith, one of the former Doctor Who doctors, plays the villain in this movie. And he is usually pretty likable as well. But here's the thing. There's just, this movie's so weird, you guys. The writing of it is bizarre. So, at the beginning of the movie, it's a flashback where Morbius, Jared Leto's character, is a kid. And he's in this hospital-like facility because he has this blood disorder that causes his legs to be crippled and, you know, whatever. And Matt Smith's character comes in as a little kid and has the same issue. And they become friends. But when Matt Smith's, the younger version of his character, shows up, he's like, my name is whatever, Lucius or something. And Morbius' character is like, no, your name's Milo, because previously there was a Milo here, and you're just the new Milo. And the kid doesn't object to it, and even as an adult is Milo. It reminds me of our friend Chad. We have a friend that has been redubbed Chad that we call Chad. His name's Nick. Same thing in this movie, but it's never addressed again. It's just this guy just starts going by Milo because that's what Morbius called him as a kid, and it's not his name. It's so strange. It's just, I don't know. I could definitely fill a whole episode with me just baffled at this movie, but boy, I thought it was gonna be like a fun discussion, and there was nothing fun about it.
Well, that's good. Yeah, I wanted to see it before this, but I got busy. I wound up watching something else that we're going to be talking about later. And, you know, I got, like, homework and stuff right now.
Review of Morbius sounds like my review of the newest Matrix. Like, it just didn't do anything. It was boring, and it didn't do anything at all. It was just a waste of time.
Yeah, and I'll do you mind if I spoil the end or the post credits things in this movie?
I don't mind at all.
Go ahead, man.
Okay.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, spoilers. If you don't want to hear this, skip forward about a minute.
Shout the spoiler! Spoiler alert!
There's 2 post credit scenes in Morbius. The first post credit scene shows the skyline of New York with the purple waves in the sky from Spider-Man No Way Home, so you know that there's some multiverse stuff going on. Mm. And in a empty prison cell appears Adrian Toomes, played by Michael Keaton from Spider-Man Homecoming. So he has been transported into the Morbius world, if that makes sense. And it's just, you know, there's a brief minute of like, where'd this prisoner guy come from? Well, he's, you know, we don't know who he is. Guess we'll let him go. That's it. That's the first post-credit scene. So Michael Keaton's been transported into the Sony Marvel universe. Then there's a second post-credit scene where Vulture, Keaton in the full Vulture gear with the wings. I don't know how he has his whole suit and everything in this dimension, because it doesn't seem like that stuff got transported with him. But that's
he had a friend to stash this one.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. Meets up with Morbius in a field.
He had Morbius stash it for him. That's probably who it was.
Sure. So Vulture and Morbius meet up in this field, and Vulture's like, "Hey, I don't know why I'm here, but I think it has something to do with this Spider-Man guy." And Morbius is like, "Okay," and Vulture's like, I don't even know what the heck he says, but basically is something about like, Spider-Man's our enemy, and Morbius is just like, okay. And that's how it ends. After this whole movie of Morbius being a good guy who has had nothing to do with Spider-Man, meets this Vulture man who appeared from another universe and recruits him to be part of his group to go after Spider-Man. It makes no sense. They're obviously trying to pull together some awful Sony version of the Sinister Six with Vulture, Morbius, I assume Venom. We know they're doing a Kraven the Hunter movie.
No!
We'll see whatever other villains they pull in. But when the scene happened and my eyes rolled so far back into my head I could see my brain. It was terrible.
At least Andrew Garfield gets to be Spider-Man again. That's the only positive thing that's going to come from all this.
I saw a joke on either Twitter or Reddit or something, but the sentiment was totally correct. It's like the Spider-Man actors right now between Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield. It's like, all right, who has to draw the short straw for these guys to be in their universe? You know what I mean? It's like who's gonna end up with being the Spider-Man in this world? Because oh boy,
yeah. Well, that's disappointing. I actually like Morbius in the comics. I didn't see that much of him, but from what I did see, I enjoyed his interactions with the other characters. I was hoping this would be great. I'm not a big Jared Leto guy, you guys know. But I was willing to look past it, You
know how Jared Leto is a method actor? How do you think he prepared for his role as a vampire superhero?
I don't know.
Well, according to you, it doesn't seem like he prepared for it at all.
No, I mean, he really didn't do anything very vampiric. I mean, he's just super boring and occasionally gets CGI transformed into a meaner-looking vampire when he wants blood.
He could have at least done the vampire voice.
It is I, Jared Leto.
It's me, Morbius, and I'm here to suck your blood.
So you say this movie was bad? Was it?
Kid you not, would have made for a much more entertaining movie.
Yeah, that would have been bad enough to talk about.
It's me, Morbius. Was it? Inquiring minds want to know. Was this movie Cats bad?
Oh gosh, was it Cats bad?
I think it's a. I mean, don't let me speak for you, but it seems like a different kind of bad. Where Cats is bad enough to say it's bad, Morbius is almost just pointless.
Well, Cats is also just kind of falls into the same trap of, despite all the things that people make fun of it for, with the CG and just the overall direction choices there, it's a boring movie too. Like, I don't know if y'all have seen that new Cats movie. It's a slog to sit through. It's a total slog. And Morbius kind of is too. So I mean, maybe they would be nice adjacent friends in the bad movies realm.
Now that seems like a good thing to bring through the multiverse. Bring the Cats into the Morbius films.
Now I'd watch that. I would watch that.
See, that I don't want to see Cats. I have no desire. But I would like to be invited to one of Gary and Rachel's. Apparently, they have an annual tradition where they drink box wine and they watch Cats. So it sounds like a good time.
I mean, it would take an entire box of wine to get to the point where that movie is.
They have an entire box of wine for you.
Yeah, Drew. So. It's a requirement.
That seems awful. That seems like an awful thing to do.
Drink a box of wine and watch Cats?
Yeah, that seems terrible.
I'm not a big fan of either of those things.
On the bright side, we don't have to talk about Morbius any more than we already have. That's a positive.
Do we have to keep talking about Cats?
No.
Oh God! Thank God.
So instead,
My
it
name's
allows us
Tum
to
Tum
focus on
Tugger.
2 newer shows that have
Oh,
come
no, I
out
haven't
that
seen
we
it.
both, or we all have been able to watch, which are Moon Knight and Halo. Do y'all have a preference for which of these we discuss first?
No.
No preference.
Let's talk Halo first, because I feel like there's going to be some entertaining discussion here because we probably have all kinds of varying opinions. I'll say this: I took notes when I was watching Halo.
Wow.
I literally have a note on my phone that I'm pulling up now because I took notes.
I did not take notes, but I will tell you that while I was watching the first episode, I laughed because there was a black commander guy and there was a hangar with a bunch of warthogs in the next scene. And so I had said in the previous podcast that I had been watching Halo, even though it wasn't out yet. And you guys asked me what my favorite scene was. I said the black commander guy and the warthogs in the hangar. So
You did say that.
it did happen. I had a really good laugh about it.
That's pretty funny. I forgot that you were pretending that you had seen it in the future.
Yep, and I was actually sort of close. I was like 70% on describing a scene, which is pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
So first off, for some background on the Halo series, this is a series, that obviously the games are over 20 years old now, and
What?
they've been trying to make either a Halo movie or series or something for over 10 years. I know there's a lot of talk about how when District 9 came out, like there were a lot of weapons used in that movie that were technically prototypes for a Halo movie. I think that Neil Blomkamp was on deck to basically direct a Halo movie at some point, and obviously that never happened. There have been talks dating back to as early as 2013 about a series, and that's actually when Steven Spielberg was attached to executive produce even back then, which he is still a name in the credits on the show. Steven Spielberg's an executive producer of Halo, which I feel like people aren't talking about. Like, we have the show out, but Spielberg's quietly a producer on. But, it was given a 10 episode series order back in 2018 for Showtime. It was going to be on Showtime. And I don't know when exactly it shuffled, but at some point they moved it. Looks like February 2021. The series was moved from Showtime to Paramount Plus. So I guess to probably increase viewers on the streaming service. And here we are. It's on Paramount Plus as of the recording now. There are 2 episodes available. And, yeah. So, I guess what are y'all's, before we get into the nitty-gritty details on it, general thoughts. Where are y'all at on this show? I know Jahan's not the as big of a Halo fan in general.
I am not.
Gary and
I do not care for the series. I don't have that nostalgia. I didn't grow up playing it with my friends, really. I went to 1 or 2 LAN parties, but it's just not my thing. The story has always been bland, uninteresting, with boring characters, and just a lack of heart. It's just bleh. It's just bleh. That's my opinion on it. But the show, so I like sci-fi. I like sci-fi TV a lot. Honestly, some solid sci-fi elements to this show. I'm conflicted. I don't hate it. It's honestly much better than I was expecting. Because I was expecting a giant, just pile of dog shit. But it was better. It was better than that. It's watchable. At the very least, it's watchable. And it could even get to a point where it might be good. I don't know. I'm not writing it off yet. That's where I am right now.
Gary?
I also think that it could get to a point where it's good. It's not there though. The first episode is not. The first episode was probably the better of the 2 so far.
I would agree.
And I think that the elites are absolutely awesome. The elites in motion are terrifying, and they're bestial, and they're huge, and they're violent. Watching them just mow down women and children, and the gore in that show kind of took me back to. I wasn't expecting that, so. There was some really just brutal moments in the first episode where I was like, damn, we're in for a ride. But those were in the first 20 minutes. And I think that's been the best part of the series so far. Whenever it cuts to to Covenant alien homeworld, and Denise Targaryen, mother of Covenant, is telling them all of the secrets. That's the dumbest shit I've ever seen. I'm so mad that there's a blonde human woman who is advising the Covenant.
Yes.
I was like, what in the absolute
Spoiler alert.
dick? Then we get over to back to Earth, and it was exactly what I was afraid of. It's a bunch of politicians sitting around a table, except there are like 12 more people than I thought there would be. I thought it would be like 5 people on the table, and instead there's like 11. And they just sit around and talk. And that's what I was afraid of. Was a bunch of people sitting around talking.
I actually enjoyed that.
I saw enough of that in The Expanse. And The Expanse does intergalactic politics better than Halo.
The Expanse does. You are not wrong.
We are literally in episode 1 and 2 of the show, and the UNSC put a murder hit on a child, and like, so those are supposed to be the good guys. So like, now you've discounted the entire Earth Republic. You can't trust anybody there because they're all pieces of shit. Master Chief takes off his helmet in the first episode, the guy who doesn't take off his helmet in the entire game series until like game 5, and it's just from behind. He takes it off in episode 1, takes his armor off in episode 2. Like, what is going on in this show? It is absolutely terrible for a Halo show. But like you said, Jahan, if it were just a sci-fi show, it's a pretty good sci-fi show.
It's a decent sci-fi show.
And because of that, it might be watchable. And when John/Master Chief gets to the ring, which we're on the quest, he knows he's going to a Halo. When he gets there, maybe the story, maybe the show will pick up. Because Halo is, at its forefront, to me, an action series. It's a first-person shooter action series. I do not need to see half action and half politics. That is not why anyone plays that game.
So, I actually pretty much agree with both of y'all on everything. Which I know people are probably hoping for a big disagreement. I'll say the spin here is that I'm maybe like everything that you said, but with a little bit more positive of a spin on it. But I mean, I agree. I feel like the show kind of has this weird push and pull between its seriousness or trying to be serious, but also with kind of the cheese dick nature of this series. And I don't know what other better word to use than that. But no, I mean, I thought there were some fun moments. It's watchable, as you said. I will continue watching it. You know, I'm interested to see more.
Yeah.
But the second episode I thought kind of pulled it down a little bit compared to I was much higher after the first episode. I am also willing to separate myself from the source material and the show. I get that this is a separate thing from the game. I get that you have to make changes to make this into a show. I don't even argue much the choice to have Master Chief remove his helmet at some point. I'm shocked it happened in the first episode.
Yeah.
And not later on down the line.
They should have really given him the Mandalorian treatment. I cannot believe they unmasked him right out the gate. That was very cheapening to the character.
So on that note, this show was announced back in 2018, and it wasn't that long after that. I think the first season of The Mandalorian premiered in late 2019. And I feel like you could tell they saw The Mandalorian, then they're like, oh, we need to pull in some of that into this show, because I got that kind of energy from Master Chief and the relationship with this girl, or maybe what they want to do with it, and just the overall vibes from Chief's character. There are some similarities even from the game.
All right, so that girl's haircut is terrible. The shades on the sides, mullet. That is the worst. And then when they go meet his friend, and his friend's wife has that giant blonde space hair, she looks like she stepped out of Hunger Games. It was another time when I was just like, damn, this show is just bad. Like, they don't even know what they're doing. They're just making mistakes left and right, hoping something pans out. I'm just so unhappy with it. One of the things that really bugged me, too, is all the guns in the show. None of them are the guns from the game.
Are they not?
No, and it's so easy.
Some of them were.
Some, but there are so many assault rifles and battle rifles that aren't from the game. People just have these guns that aren't game mod.
Yeah, but I saw all the UNC had the right guns.
They did not.
I only saw the real guns. I guess I wasn't paying that close of attention. But the Spartans definitely were using the SMG and the pistol and the battle rifle.
So the Spartans were pretty sick though when they were all fighting. And that one girl has like the magnetic holsters for her dual pistols. Mm. That was sick. That was next level.
Yeah, man, that scene got really. Yeah, you're right. That scene got bloody. I was like, wow, when that kid got like blasted in the very beginning, I was like, holy crap! Like that was crazy. FYI, watch out for gore.
The first note that I have in my notes, which is what y'all said, was violent, which I was not expecting.
No.
So I agree with what y'all said. I thought the first scene of the first episode, though, is so far the high point of the series.
It's really good.
I was not expecting that much action. I was not expecting that much blood, and I was not expecting the brutality of the Covenant. There's that point in the first action scene where there's a bunch of women and children that are all huddled into like a separate room while all the men are out fighting, and an elite gets to that room and opens the door and looks at all of them and just guns all of them down. My jaw dropped. I couldn't believe that they were going there. But hey, I mean, it's an alien race and they're the bad guys. Like, way to make them as bad as you possibly can. So I was here for it. But of course
I feel like they also make it obvious that the what do you call them? UNCMC or whatever, the humans,
UNSC,
the UNSC would do the same. And honestly, the Spartans might have gunned all those exact same people down, and they even reference Master Chief having done so in the past, where they isolate, you know what I mean? And I appreciate that, because I don't think that they should be the good guy, because I don't think they, I didn't play the games as closely or whatever, but a war culture cannot be moral.
The game is a lot more like Alien, in that Alien's universe, where Halo is like the Pelicans look like they're ripped right out of Alien, and sort of the assault rifles, and even the motion trackers. So it is almost like the good guys versus the bad guys. There's the UNSC is the entire alliance of Earth's militaries, and then the Covenant are the bad guys that are killing everyone.
Yeah.
And so to immediately make them the bad guys is like, okay, so now all of the Earth's militaries is the bad guy, and all of the Covenant is the bad guy. Like, you really cheapened everything right out the gate.
See, I feel that's better, honestly. I feel like that's much more accurate.
Yeah, and so just to give kind of like a general overview for people who haven't watched the show, of kind of what the general plot, like basically most bare bones plot, is that there's this attack on the town at the beginning. There's one survivor. Chief has the girl, is ordered to basically execute her, bring her in.
Terrible haircut. She has a terrible haircut.
And instead basically goes on the run with her. And prior to him leaving with her, he also found this crazy Covenant artifact that seems to unlock his own memories from when prior to him being a Spartan. And that's basically it, right? It's like Chief is on the run with this girl, and he's got this crazy artifact. That's about it, right?
That's it. Yep.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So anyway, I don't know. It seems a little bit derivative, but I mean, I'm here for it. I did, just to go through some of these notes, in that first action scene, of course they had to use some of these cheesy first person viewpoints from Master Chief that reminded me of the Doom movie that The Rock was in back in the day.
That movie's underrated.
I have not seen it in a long time, but I doubt that, my friend.
I'm shaking my head. It's probably not underrated.
It's underrated.
But it got to a point for me, one of my notes after that says, okay, get all the gaming references in while you can. Because it seemed like the first scene was the big action scene, but it had a lot of nods to the games. Like, okay, let's, by the end of it, I'm like, okay, how many more references here are you going to do?
Yeah, I loved that the active camo, you hear one of the elites fired up, and it sounds exactly like the active camo from the game.
Cool. The shield sounded the same. Mm-hmm. A lot of those cool touches, yeah.
think it showed their radar at one point, or when it showed the HUD from Chief's visor, like it looked pretty similar to the game. And that's fine. I figured they'd do that kind of stuff at some point.
I like it. I'll call it fan service, and I like it.
Fair. I'm not arguing that. But then my next note is from when it changed to like the politicians and the scientists and all that. My next note is science stuff, brain turned off. That's what I put for my note, because that's when I started to kind of fade. And then I also had a note about, again, talking about things being derivative. There's a part where the other Spartans suit up, and it is straight out of Iron Man, like them walking into the platform and the way the machines place the Spartan armor on them looks straight up like an Iron Man suit up from one of the Marvel movies, right?
Yes, but what else do you do? That looks dope as hell.
It does. I won't take away from it there.
In the beginning of Halo Combat Evolved, you just come out of a tube already dressed in your armor.
Yeah.
So I'll let them take they can use the Iron Man approach.
They definitely Iron Manned it, but I agree. I think it's fine. On it, so we're back to it. As a sci-fi, I actually think this is pretty decent. I liked it a lot better than I thought I would. I wonder how many seasons this is actually going to go for. Do you know anything about the response? Like how are the viewing numbers? Do you know anything?
I don't know the viewership. That's a good question. I do know that Microsoft's been doing what they can to get people to see this. I think the first episode's available on YouTube for free. I think that through Game Pass you can watch the show for free.
Game Pass has so if you have Xbox Game Pass, go check it out. You have perks. Go to your perks section. If you didn't know you had one, these are like non-game related things that you can redeem, and one of them is a Paramount Plus trial. So you get
Just looking at this is just from Wikipedia, so it's not anything super official, but it does say reception. The first season currently holds a 70% on Rotten Tomatoes based on 47 reviews.
Not bad.
An average rating of 6 out of 10. The website's critics' consensus reads, Halo is too derivative of better science fiction series to emerge a fully formed elite, but glimmers of promise and faithfulness to the source material signal it's not out of the fight just yet. Which I feel like is pretty much exactly what you said.
Yeah, that's exactly
pretty much what we've been saying. Yeah, that's funny.
And I would have given it a 6 out of 10 because it's just barely watchable.
Yeah,
just barely.
It's barely watchable. I've seen better sci-fis than this get canned. One good example, I think Gary might agree with me, Defiant. If you remember Defiant, I like that show.
Defiant. How about Terra Nova?
Terra Nova, yeah, that show went down before it had its day, I think. A lot of sci-fis get canned that are better than this get canned. I think that this one's star power, and by star power I mean the source material, none of the actors are anybody that I'm aware of, which is interesting in its own right. But I think the fact that this has the Halo logo might allow it to have a few seasons, and maybe it'll be pretty decent.
Oh, speaking of the actors in it, so Pablo Schreiber plays Master Chief, and he's been in a few. I've seen him in some things, and I actually like him in a lot of the stuff that he's in. Like, he's in a movie called Den of Thieves that I like. He was in that 13 Hours movie, the Michael Bay movie with Jim from The Office. His name's escaping me.
John Krasinski.
Yes, thank you. He's been in some other stuff, but the thing that I think he kind of first was really notable for was if you ever saw the series Orange is the New Black. He was Pornstache, the guard from Orange is the New Black, which sometimes in this I see him and I imagine that's Ash and I see it, but I don't find it to be too distracting. I think he's fine. I think that when he was this isn't credit to him really. When he's in, I would say the Chief armor looks good on screen. There are some times when he's moving and it does kind of have like a cardboard look to it, almost like the Megazord from old Power Rangers TV shows, where you can tell, it's light, but they add the kind of thumping sound effects to add the weight to it. But for the most part, on screen, I'd say it looks pretty good. And I think that his voice was good too. Like when he's in the armor and the effects on the voice, it sounded good. As we already said, the helmet comes off in the first episode, so you see his face and you hear him talk. And it's so much less effective when you can see him and hear his normal voice compared to when the helmet's on and you hear the voice kind of like as if it's coming from the suit. That's something that I feel like I don't mind. Again, I don't mind the helmet coming off if you're going to do that for the plot of the show. I get it. It's the TV show. It's a visual medium. You want to do that, but the suit looked cool and the voice sounded cool, just like in Mandalorian. The same thing. There's a reason why they waited a long time before they showed his face.
They took the helmet off so that he could show humanity to the girl.
Yeah.
But Mandalorian shows humanity through a helmet all the time. It can be done with body language. It can be done with directing and music. You don't have to take off a helmet. It's just so, and like you said, it wasn't powerful. It didn't have the effect or the response that they wanted it to. I promise you.
So here's one thing that confuses me a little confused here. So, right, spoiler alerts. So they deoxygenate.
We've been spoiling this thing all already. I mean, I'd say
yeah, we haven't.
Full spoilers.
They deoxygenate everything, right, including the interior of his suit, right? He in a less oxygenated state manages to turn the oxygen back on.
He shrugs it off
for the ship, right?
Yeah.
But he does not remove his helmet to breathe, which means that his suit is still an under-oxygenated environment because he didn't fix it.
No, he shrugged it off.
Yeah, exactly. All of a sudden, he was just standing there fine until he took his helmet off, which is the point where he should have been fine breathing the air that he fixed. But his suit was just better all of a sudden because she could breathe again. It didn't make any sense. I just want to put that out there. It irked me, and I'm glad we could talk about it.
Yeah, I'm glad you put that out there. I didn't catch that one, and that show is not great. I'll keep watching and report back.
It was way better than I expected, honestly.
Yeah, the only other notes that I had were I noted just that the Prophets were in it. That surprised me that oh man, we're getting the Elites, we're getting the Covenant, we're getting the Prophets, we're getting all that. And the Prophets didn't look that bad to me on screen.
The aliens looked good.
I thought they looked all right.
The aliens look good.
So, Jahan, the Prophets are the ones that are in the High Council for the Covenant. They're the ones who sit in the chairs and they float around and have the kind of gangly neck.
With the little doodads?
Yeah, with the little doodads on their faces. So they weren't in the first. They definitely weren't in the first game, but maybe they were in the second. And they were definitely in the third.
Were in the second.
And so they were kind of boss fights where you had to fight them in their flying chairs with lasers.
I remember fighting them in their flying chair, actually, now you mention it. Because I have played the games.
That was just one of those things where, I'm with you, Drew. I didn't think we would see Prophets that soon, right out the gate. And I did think we would see some grunts by now. I'm surprised we've only seen Elites.
I believe the first fight that it was all Elites, I was waiting for some grunts. So please let the grunts be in the show. I love the grunts.
Have you ever read any of the books about the grunts, about how terrifying they are?
I have not read any of the Halo books, and I know that there's a lot of fans of them.
In the books, the grunts run like hordes. There's hundreds and hundreds of them that charge at once. It's not just two standing around a corner with a plasma pistol. And they're like ravenous dogs. And so they just run over and chew and bite and tear people apart. And they have plasma pistols that melt right through human flesh and through armor. So they're
the awful. Plasma weapons were cool in this. So they did a lot of cool sci-fi. This is solid. It's a solid sci-fi series worth watching if you're a fan of sci-fi. But yeah, I agree. Yes, the oxygen thing bugged me. The human in the Covenant was dumb. Even I know that was wrong. Immediately.
Yeah, I don't really understand the logic behind that either.
Cortana in the pod with the bald-headed Cortana in the pod. Stupid.
Also dumb.
Yeah, I thought that was silly. The weird human version of Cortana and the stretch to make it a human-based AI. I don't know. It's all strange. Just make Cortana
if it's human-based, it is not an AI. It's just an eye.
She's wearing a wetsuit, but it stops at her knees, so that when you walk in the room, you see her in this pod with her knees up in the most uncomfortable, unnatural position, where you can see her bare legs, but the rest of her is all wrapped up. I'm what is the Like, does your AI's shins need to breathe? What is this? What is she wearing and why? Why are her shins on display? Like, this is a strange thing happening here.
It's for the 1920s audience. I see some ankles there.
Look at them legs.
Hope my wife doesn't catch me gandering at them gams.
I'll tell you, I'd pay a nickel to see them legs, and I would.
I'd pay a dime to see them twice.
I actually had the Cortana cliffhanger as a note of, like, the show just kind of ended. I was expecting more of a cliffhanger in the second episode. It just kind of ended with that. I thought that was a little bit abrupt. I did note that I thought the pelican in motion looked good. I thought the warthogs in motion looked good. But I also had a note, and Gary, you kind of touched on this, but I said, oh yeah, a Halo ring. Because finally in the second episode, they alluded to to the ring, to a Halo. And it took me a second of like, oh yeah, this is Halo. Like, this is a Halo show, and there's been no visual or anything regarding an actual Halo ring until midway through the second episode. So I made a note of that. So it sounds like we might be seeing the actual Halo ring soon, which I would love that. I'd love the change of scenery. Give me like the trees and the outdoor environment with Chief in it. Like, I want to see those visuals that would maybe help set it apart from some other sci-fi stuff if we can see some cool environments and see something new. And it makes me wonder, like, are we gonna get the flood in the show?
Oh yeah,
it seems like it.
We're definitely gonna get the flood. I think we are, and I think that's why the show is going to get good, and that's probably where Season 1 will end. Season 1 will probably end with Master Chief right outside the Vault of the Flood, so people who are fans of the series will be like, oh shit! Anyone else will be like, I wonder what's behind that terrifying door number 1.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see where they go. I'm not sure. I'm going to assume it's going to be 10 episodes, but I'm actually not positive.
Yeah, so earlier I said that none of the actors were from anything. I assume some of them were from stuff I don't know, but the other Spartan that like left being a Spartan on the space rock, he's in a bunch of stuff, and he because he was in Spider-Man, and I also believe
he was one of the Shockers.
Right? Yeah, he was one of the Shockers, and I was looking it up. He was in The Rock. If you remember, and I thought that was him, and I was like, but there's no way, because he hasn't aged a day somehow.
He's a classic that guy.
He is a classic that guy. Yeah.
His name's Bokeem Woodbine. He kind of looks like Dave Chappelle.
Yes, doesn't he? He looks like action Dave Chappelle. I thought the same thing.
Interesting.
But definitely a classic that guy who's been in a bunch of stuff. Yeah, like looking at his filmography, like he was even in Ghostbusters Afterlife recently. But like I don't remember him from it. Like he's just been in a ton of stuff. But you see him like,
I think I do remember him in it. I think he was somebody's father, one of the kids' fathers.
He was a recurring
sheriff.
member of the cast of one of Gary's favorites, Wu-Tang and American Saga.
Wu-Tang? Does he play Power?
He plays Jerome?
Oh, okay, yeah, Jerome's not a big role. That is the mom's new husband, and they moved away. He's just that guy.
Yep.
He plays that guy in that show. He's in like 4 scenes, maybe in 4 episodes, maybe.
Well, is there anything else about Halo that we have to add? I feel like we've been pretty thorough.
Yeah, it's been pretty thorough.
Whenever this show is done with production, I need someone to get me a warthog.
Yeah, they looked cool.
That's my last note. I need one. Whenever the show's done and wrapped, wherever these get off to, I need one.
Let's just we could just make one.
That's okay. Yeah, you can make. I'm fine with that. I need one. I need a warthog.
I'll 3D print you a custom car kit
with maybe like a paintball minigun on the back.
Be cool.
Well, on that note, we'll end with talking about Moon Knight. Y'all want to talk about the first episode of Moon Knight that premiered earlier this week?
Yeah, definitely. I was so excited to watch this. I ran home after work. I had some food. sat down. I watched it with my mom, because she, as you guys are aware, she is a big Marvel fan as well. Loves the MCU. Man, this show is dope, man. I really liked it. I liked his character. I wasn't expecting him to act the way he was, like his voice and his accent and all that. Very interesting. I wasn't expecting it. I liked it.
Gary, I'd say of us, I know you've been a fan of Moon Knight for a long time, at least dating back to when we would read comics, and he was an especially more, I guess, lesser known character back then, more so. Where are you at on Moon Knight?
So one of my fears with this show is that from all the previews, it looked like it was just going to be Oscar Isaacs running around scared, sort of like Tom Hardy in Venom.
Yeah.
Which I did not like that approach, and I was like, boy, if this is going to be 10 episodes of this show is going to be boring and bad at some point. But he isn't just running around scared. There is comedic relief already. That's one of the big things about Moon Knight is he hears different voices and has these alternate personalities, and a lot of times they are funny. They play jokes, they kind of interrupt his life and mess with things he's got going and vice versa, and they almost compete with each other in a sort of way. And I was afraid that was not going to carry over, and it looks like it is going to carry over. It looks like he is going to be himself and also Mark Spector and also inhabited by a curse or some kind of ancient power. I thought it was cool that Moon Knight didn't start us straight into his origin story, how he got the power. Where we are, he's already got it, right? He's already got the sand around his bed. He already sleeps with shackles on. He's already got tape on the door. It doesn't explain that why to us at all. We're going to get caught up on that later, I suppose, which I like that they just kind of dove in with it and assumed that we'd figure it out. Because we will. Viewers aren't stupid. We understand comic books. I'm glad they took this approach. Great action sequences in the first episode. I don't know if they're going to be able to keep it up.
So good, man.
The stealing a cupcake truck, boom, straight up, thumbs up for me. I asked Jahan in the superhero games, I'm always trying to steal vehicles. So stealing a cupcake truck is great. Wake Me Up Before You Go, playing on the radio.
Trying to reclaim that from Zoolander. That's fantastic. I was so happy.
Yeah, man, I had a huge smile on my face during that scene. And then, of course, the car pops into reverse. He uses a cupcake as a weapon. He throws a gun at a car.
He was smearing the cupcake in that guy's eyes. It was strawberry or something. It wasn't spicy. It was just a cupcake. It was fantastic.
There were just so many good moments in that first episode. That I wonder if you can have that many good moments every episode. Eventually, he'll get better with his power, right? And he'll just turn into Moon Knight or let Mark handle it.
And it'll become the problem-solving mechanism for everything.
Right. So then he won't be shoving cupcakes in people's faces.
Maybe.
But it is Moon Knight. He wakes up in the middle of fields. He's kind of crazy, so sometimes his power doesn't work. He's neurotic. He's an insomniac. When the episode ended, the only thing I wanted was another one or two scenes. I wanted a little bit more Moon Knight, and I still want more Moon Knight. Go ahead.
Putting his alter ego at the forefront like that, his museum working, unobtrusive self at the forefront leads me to believe that they're aware that they shouldn't make him use his powers to solve everything all the time. I'm hopeful. And also, so this is, if I'm not mistaken, this is going to be 6 episodes?
Correct.
It's going to be a very concentrated dose. I hope they do keep it up. You're right, there's a lot of really good moments. I love, man, that first moment where he just kind of passes out and wakes up all bloody and that was such a cool way to show that. It was so jarring. And it was just a really cool way to show that kind of disassociation. Because, I knew what was going on, but I looked at my mom. She was like, what was that? She was, all excited. She thought it was really cool, too. I don't know.
I've traditionally not been a fan of Oscar Isaacs. I think he's pretty boring.
Love him.
But I thought he was real good in this.
That's cool.
I think he's great at being terrified and funny and charming, and he's good at playing these different characters. He had this scene where he was supposed to meet a girl for dinner. She ended up not being there, and then just watching him go through the range of emotions of sadness and then order himself a steak kind of absent-mindedly. Just watching that maybe 15-second breakdown was a great emotional ride. So I am no longer in the camp that he's always boring. I'm in the camp that he's mostly boring. But really good in Moon Knight.
I'm glad you like him. Yeah, no, that scene with the steak.
Never gonna let it go. His take on Oscar Isaac, because he knows how much I like Oscar Isaac in general.
I also like Oscar Isaac.
I don't give a damn what either of you think about Oscar Isaac. I think he's boring. I think he's good in Moon Knight. It's not to spite you guys, trust me.
No, Gary's always hated him. But
I agree. I haven't been able to give a take yet. I want to say, so I agree. I really enjoyed the first episode. I'm interested to see more. I'm not like all in yet. I'd say like I thought it was really solid. It left me wanting more, but I need to see more to be like, is this going to be the best of the Marvel streaming shows? You know, that kind of thing. Which I do think it's interesting. I had the realization that this is the first of the MCU streaming shows that's about a character that hasn't been introduced yet in any of the movies or anything. Because so far we had WandaVision, Falcon Winter Soldier, Loki, and Hawkeye.
That's a good point.
You know, Hawkeye, of course, introduced Kate Bishop, who's going to be a bigger part of the MCU going forward, but still had Jeremy Renner there. This is, you know, there's been no other MCU ties in this one yet, and I thought it stood alone really well.
And that's sort of back to what I was saying, where it really. Oh damn! No, I forgot what I was saying. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're fine. I was just going to say, you talked about the action scene at the end, the car chase, and I loved the blackouts integrated into the scene and pushing it along. I thought that worked really well. I think Oscar Isaac's really good and is really doing a good job of carrying the show. I feel like if you didn't have Oscar Isaac in that role and didn't have that energy, I don't know if the show would work as well. Like it's really hinging on him so far, and he's doing really well.
I think he's doing a great job. I also thought Ethan Hawke was awesome. I was very happy with he's cool, man. He was I don't know, you believe that he believes in what he's saying, and that's hard to do when you're playing a crazy person.
It's a good bad guy. It's a very good bad guy.
It's a good bad guy.
I loved the opening of the glass and the sandals and that introduction to Ethan Hawke's bad guy. I love Ethan Hawke in general, but I was like, oh yeah, I'm in for this for sure.
I think what I was going to say was that it really does stand alone, and it, like you said, there's no hero to hold his hand or introduce him. There is no origin story as a little kid to let you know what happened to him. There's just this superhero thing that Disney released there now. And it's really good. it's real good.
I know that's a really good point. He's just this dude that has this dissociative identity disorder, and you realize very quickly that one of his personalities or whatever is this kind of is the superhero. Like I love that. I love that we're just kind of thrown into his crazy world.
So I was a little unclear because you guys were saying that he'd been Moon Knight the whole time or whatever. Like, so in my mind when I was watching, right, he just had dissociative disorder and was like, what do you call it? Not moonwalking, sleepwalking. There you go. That's what Moon Knight does. He moonwalks. He was sleepwalking and being like this mercenary character, right? He's being like this badass, like, I'm a mercenary. I go, soldier of fortune. I go to like Kuwait and take out, whatever. But then when he woke up in that field with the scarab, I thought was the first moment that it was like, oh, the mercenary persona during one of his missions came across the supernatural artifact. So, like, I'm not sure if I'm wrong in thinking that. If, like, that was when he actually... Because that was the first time he started hearing the voice. And so I thought that was where he became Moon Knight. But I could be wrong. He could have been
You might
long.
be right. that might be the scarab might be what turned him into Moon Knight. I took it as that's sort of whatever the other side of him has been doing with its time, is collecting these sort of Egyptian artifacts.
Oh yeah.
But you very well could be right.
You got. See, that's the thing. We don't really know yet, and that's cool. I like the ambiguity. I like the fact that there's still like a mystery. It's not like just blah, like it's not info dump. This is what's going on. Like, you still got to find out with the character. You got to learn with the character. I think they have another hit here, man. I know that, I'm a fan of Marvel. I show my T-shirt. This is Marvel. And I don't know if people just think I'm biased, but it's really good. The MCU is really good, and the shows are really good. And to your point, this is one of the first times where they're introducing a character through the TV medium format. And there's another one coming up. They're doing Kamala Khan in the same way. And so that's pretty cool.
I did not watch the trailer for that yet, but I heard that she had like big energy.
Yes, they changed her powers.
I do not like.
Yeah, it's definitely something I understand, because I mean, you've seen stretchy people on movies and stuff. It looks dumb. And it looks bad. I think that they did it for aesthetic reasons mostly, and I also think that they're keeping her powers in the same vein as Captain Marvel and what's Rambo's superhero name?
Gosh, I can't remember.
Starts with an R. But I think they're trying to keep her powers in that like light family, to like also tie it in, because the MCU definitely has like a different, power origin. A lot of things are very tied to the Infinity Stone story as a power origin and that kind of thing. So I'm okay with it. I also was looking forward to seeing her go all big and stuff. But I've seen this before. So in Young Justice, I mean, obviously, you remember Justice Friends, you remember Apache Chief, he would get all big, right?
Yes, I did. You're right. They did do that in Young
Justice. They did that
really
to
cool.
Ty Longshadow, and instead of getting all big, he astral projected and walked with an energy golem as his outer shell to be a giant without being silly. And I liked it a lot then, and I think I might like it a lot now.
It was pretty sick in Young Justice, no lie, but I do wish that they had stuck with with all of her original story and her original powers. I like the Inhumans storyline, and I like it from Kamala Khan's point of view. Her point of view is what makes that storyline so important, and I think you take a lot away from her by taking that away from her. At least they have powers the same.
I think they had planned to have the Inhumans be a bigger part of the MCU, but then that TV show just failed.
Bombed so hard.
Yeah. Disregarded it entirely.
Yeah, I forgot that she was Inhuman, and I also really enjoy the Inhuman storyline. So
they also don't need to worry about the Inhuman storyline anymore because they got the mutants back.
They do,
and so they can let the Inhumans crash and burn, and they can make mutant stuff again.
Right.
We can talk about this. We can keep going down this rabbit hole. We should stop.
Well, let's just say Moon Knight. What do you think, Jahan? Is it fresh?
It's certified fresh out the box, 1,000%.
What do you think, Drew? Is there any freshness coming out of the Moon Knight box?
I would definitely certify it fresh. I was maybe kind of on the line, but then there was the scene of him speaking to the living statue, and that definitely made it where it was certified fresh.
That's like the third scene. No, that scene's great. I just
loved that scene. I wanted to shout it out because it made me happy, and it was so bizarre him talking to him and unloading all his secrets there. But his character was so weird that I bought it.
It was so funny.
Yeah, I love that his character's so weird and introverted that his only friend is a living statue outside the museum that doesn't talk to him.
We don't know that they're friends. It's very one-sided so far. They might be.
That might be the best friendship he has, though.
It might be, yeah.
It almost alludes to that.
I greatly enjoy the unattentive guard that can't stop watching otter videos. That's really funny. There's a lot of good stuff in this show. I think they have another hit. I think they somehow did it again. Like, this is like hitting like WandaVision goodness for me. Like this is I really enjoy it.
completely agree. We are only on one episode. It's early to see how it pans out, but it does look like it's probably going to be better than Falcon Soldier and Loki and maybe Hawkeye, depending on how things go.
Yeah, Hawkeye is really good, but yeah, I agree.
Awesome. Well, we'll definitely be talking about it more in the coming weeks. I'm sure we'll, as we do our kind of what we've been watching updates, we'll have occasional Moon Knight thrown in there, but we'll probably talk about it more at length when the finale eventually comes out. We can talk about it, the series as a whole. But
Hell yeah.
Otherwise, we'll be coming out next week with another update of just all the different things that we've been watching, shorter form compared to these longer reviews that we did today. But yeah, where can everybody find y'all?
Hey, I'm Johanan. You can find me at RockFact on Twitter if you want to come yell at me about my opinions, apparently. They're controversial.
It's me, Casualty CDG, and you can find me at Casualty CDG. If you like tabletop role-playing games a la Dungeons and Dragons, you should come by. See Jahan and I every Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday from 8 p.m. until 11 p.m. Central Standard Time at twitch.tv/Jahananon, or go to YouTube and check for Fresh Out the Box or our Facebook. We're always there streaming games. And of course, Fresh Out the Podcast is available where all podcasts are available. Tell your friends to go give us a 5-star rating somewhere. We're doing less cursing than ever, and we would really appreciate it if you gave us like a 4 or 5-star review just as like a pat on the back.
That's true.
Also, Tiny Tina's Wonderland is out now on all systems. You should play it with your friends.
Unless you like good games.
And I am Drew Munhausen at Drew Munhausen on Twitter. Thank you for listening to episode 39 of Fresh Out the Podcast. Catch you next time.
Stay fresh!
It sounded like it.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to Fresh Out the Podcast. I am Johanan.
I am Casualty CDG. I'm a retired child crimes and human trafficking detective turned tabletop titan and improv comedian.
Skiddly bap bap bow.
And I am Drew Munhausen, and I like movies, so much so that some may call me the professional media and movie mastermind, the Funhouse, and this is episode 40, the big 40 of Fresh Out the Podcast. How are each of you doing this evening?
Doing good, Drew. How are you doing?
I'm still reeling from, so if anybody listened to the podcast episode from last week, Jahan acted as if he knew nothing about the Will Smith Chris Rock slap incident at the Oscars.
What happened between Will Smith and Chris Rock?
He acted so oblivious to it to the point where I started to believe him, but I also know that he likes to really commit to these bits and pull these little pranks on me. And I will say that as I was embarrassed in the moment on the show, I just tried to keep the show moving along. When we went off the air, I addressed John about it once again and said, "Hey, you were messing with me, right?" And he said, No. Tell me what happened, and continued playing the bit until I finally explained to him what happened, only for then at that point for him to tell me that it wasn't.
He refused to tell me what happened, and so I was like, fine, I'll just watch it myself, and I Googled it. And
because I knew the moment that I gave in and actually told you what happened, that you would say, "Yeah, you stupid idiot, I already knew about that. It's everywhere."
And yet, here we are.
Yet I still got to that point. You played it so well that I got to that point where I finally told you.
Yeah, man, you really ate that up. You fell right into the trap, and he slurped you up.
I did.
Yeah, me and Gary had signed on ahead of time to that.
I truly was horrified and embarrassed in the moment when we were live recording. I'm not, I didn't edit it out of the show. I'm not going to do anything. I considered it in the moment. But I just have to give credit where credit is due.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Because when you stick to the bit that well, the bit only works if you stick to the bit.
Hey, man, that's show business.
Oh man, well this is our, every other week we've been kind of starting to fill in our what we've been watching, what we've been playing episodes, and so here we are again with a bunch of movies and shows and things that we've been watching. Last week we talked about Halo and Moon Knight and some things, that we could talk about a little bit more in depth. And this will be more of just, hey, what the cool things we've been checking out. And who wants to kick it off today?
I'll talk about Tiny Tina's Wonderland because I was going to talk about it last week, but I realized we were short on time and I had a lot to say about it. I did not think I was going to like Tiny Tina's Wonderland. I was already decided before I bought it that I wasn't going to like it. And then I found out that two of my best friends, of course, Justin and Lee, were both buying it. And I was like, well, I'll get it if they're getting it. At least I'll have somebody to play with. I'm already max level. I'm already multi-classed. I'm doing like the after max level where you get like a percentage of a fraction of a point of experience type of stuff. I'm in the late game and I'm loving it. I still haven't beaten the story of Tiny Tina, but I'm fully maxed out. My build is insane. I'm just like a crit monster, and when you go down in Tiny Tina, if you kill an enemy, you can get back up. And since my entire build is just like crit nasty insane, I always kill somebody when I'm down because everything's a one hit. So I'm just having a lot of fun running around throwing swords, just massacring fields of enemies who can't do anything to stop me. The only real punishment is whenever you're in a boss fight and it's a single boss who doesn't spawn mobs and you just can't afford the glass cannon anymore. It has a lot of classes in it. It's got, I think, 6 classes or 7. You can multi-class no matter what you do. When you hit level, I think, 12, you unlock a second multi-class tree. The classes seem to have a lot of synergy in between them, so it's almost hard to make a bad combination. Um, the multiplayer, even though they said they were having some issues with their matchmaking towards the beginning, we've been able to play almost problem free. I think there was only one night when we couldn't get on. I lagged really bad the first night. Other than that, the matchmaking's been great. I think that as the story progresses, it's starting to evolve, and I think that maybe some characters are of different alliances than I had initially anticipated. So at least the story's compelling. The voice
Is the
acting,
humor as funny as I've heard? I've heard it's one of the funniest of the Borderlands games.
so I think that the Borderlands games are right on the edge of just being annoying as shit. I don't think that the Borderland games are all that funny. I really think that it's almost a junior high slapstick sense of
Yes.
humor thing.
It is.
I don't think Borderlands is funny, but this one has a lot of fantasy references. Like, there's a guy named like Ron Rihote, and you go to help Ron Rihote, and the entire time you're trying to help him, he's just hitting a windmill with his lance. And he's like, "Ha ha! I'll stop him. You stop his vile spawn." And so he's just blasting a windmill while you fight a bunch of goblins. And so that was funny to me.
That's funny.
There's like an enemy called like Ryrax or Rygax or something like that, and it's a demon that you have to fight. And so, there's some fun stuff like that for the fantasy nerds. There's been enough to keep me going. Every map has like 8 to 12 hidden golden D20s. So for the collector in you that wants to go explore the maps, there's that. And that's been a lot of fun for me too. I've been playing with my wife Annie, and we've been playing together, and we just got all the golden D20s on a certain level. We were like, hell yeah, and fist pounded, because you know how taxing that can be sometimes without a guide. Every level has an extra secret boss. There's tons of loot. It's a looter shooter, right? So Tiny Tina's Adventure is easy to play, 4-player co-op, and most of the classes have a summon. So even if you're playing by yourself, you're not really playing alone. You still get that party element. The last thing I'll talk about is the voice acting. The main characters that you hear over your intercom the whole time. So the story setting is you're in a spaceship that's grounded. You're at a table playing bunkers and bad guys or something. Bunkers and badasses. B&B. And the people you're at the table with are Andy Samberg and what is her name? I just forgot the lady's name. It's not Missy Elliott, but I'll get back around to it. But it's seriously, it's like a really big, ultra famous black female comedian.
Oh, Wanda Sykes.
Wanda Sykes, yeah. I was going to say, when you hear her voice, you'll remember. Wanda Sykes has a memorable voice. So Andy Samberg, Wanda Sykes, and then the bad guy, the Dragon Lord, is Will Arnett. And so you have this full cast of talent. The entire time you're just being peppered with pretty funny stuff. I would say it's worth definitely buy it on a sale if you can. I paid full price, but I didn't pay the $90 collector edition or the $70 collector edition, just the regular game. The only thing you get if you pay more are like skin swaps, colors, just a couple of color schemes. You don't get a vehicle, or I don't think there's any special epic legendary weapons.
So you have an Xbox Series X, right?
I do.
Yeah, so you bought it for the Xbox Series X, boom, you have it. If you buy, there's one of the upgrades, which is the one I got. It gives you skins and stuff, but it also allows you, if you ever get an Xbox Series X, to upgrade for free. So it's got one of those optimized things. So that's one of the reasons to do the bundle. But you didn't have to because you have a Series X. So.
That's correct, yeah.
I'll definitely be picking it up at some point. I just have some other games I'm playing right now, and I knew I wasn't going to be able to give it the attention, or I didn't want to distract myself. But the nice thing is because I like the Borderlands games a lot, but the nice thing is they really do a good job of updating them with DLC and content, and usually they end up releasing a version down the line that has all the DLC and everything included. So that's probably what I'll do with Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, is once they've once it's complete and there's all the DLC packs out and stuff,
Yeah.
I'll probably buy a bundle that has everything in it.
Speaking of updating the game, they have done some quality of life things, like whenever you used to open your item box, your items would just blast out all over the floor and anybody could pick them up that was in the room. Now only your items show up on the floor, so you can properly trade your stuff instead of like a first come, first served grab type of situation. You can mantle, you can slide, you can do all the things that first person shooters these days need you to do to get around the level. And they have a really, really good mini map for finding those golden D20s I was telling you about. It will really show you, like, you can't jump to that ledge. It's not on the mini map. It's not rendered, so you know you don't need to waste time trying to jump to that ledge. So I'm really appreciative of even the small things like their mini map. There are just a lot of things in Tiny Tina's Wonderlands that excel my expectations. They exceed them, rather.
I also bought it, and I also played. I played the first Borderlands game. It was pretty fun. I have some bad experiences with the second and third one. Not a big Borderlands guy, honestly. The humor is juvenile. Not like I'm the most mature person, but it wears. And the looter shooter aspect, the looter shooter formula, like, it's not for me. I don't enjoy it. If you enjoy it, fine. It's just so boring to me. You're just killing mobs, and then, like, oh, your guns are better now. You can kill better mobs. But, like, all the mobs, in my opinion, fight the same. They have some subtle differences. Like, one of them might, instead of throwing a sword, they, like, throw their arm bone or something. But they're still throwing a at you. And, that's it. Like, it's repetitive. It's boring. It's fun with friends. I had fun playing with Gary and Lee and Justin. It was cool to have a party of 4 playing that. We had some really funny moments, like that whole thing with the boat, Gary. That was really funny. I don't want to spoil that one for anybody, but that was really funny. And, some of the bosses are cool. I do enjoy a lot of the D&D references. It does, at times, feel very pandering. It's like, hey, we know what D&D is, kids. Like, we're cool. We're hip. We're with it. But a lot of it is cool. Like, there's a whole scene where they're role-playing with each other. I really enjoy, like, how when you're watching the original characters fight, like, the first boss battle, one of them is, like, the new player. And it's like, oh, your mini's not even painted yet. And it's just, like, you have, like, this generic hero character that has no color on it. It's just a gray plastic model. But you see it, like, emoting and moving and doing stuff. And then, like, your first person, you're this, like, ambiguous character. You don't know, like, your gender or whatever. Your character is ill-defined. And then they're like, who do you want to play as? And then the character creation is pretty cool, which in previous Borderlands games, there is none. Like, you pick a pre-made, like, I'm not a psychic, I'm this psychic, you know what I mean? But in this one, you get to fully customize your character, pick your class.
I love character customization.
It's definitely cool. There is some improvements. It's not the worst game I've ever played, but it is boring and repetitive. And if you don't like Borderlands and that formula, I would not suggest this game to you.
Yeah, they don't fix it's not that they fix it. They don't change their formula. It's still the same game as it always was. The guns are even almost the exact same as they ever were. The Torg guns still shoot sticky balls that blow up later.
Yeah.
The Hyperion guns still form a force field whenever you aim down sights. So there are a lot of things that, just feel like they skin swapped Borderlands 3 and punched it up a little bit. It doesn't particularly feel like this. It feels like to me. Doesn't particularly feel like this new masterpiece. To your point about the enemies being repetitive, almost all of them are completely the same. There's the enemies that run at you, and there's the enemies that try to hide behind stuff. And occasionally, you'll get the enemy who runs at you and blows up, or tackles you, or some of the dragons try to blow you off the ledge. But the later I got in the game, I did come across some pretty cool Cyclops enemies that after you kill the Cyclops, then the Iclops pops out of the top, and the flying eye flies around and shoots lasers at you. And I thought that was a nice change of pace.
Fair.
But that's one new enemy out of close to 14 hours of gameplay.
Yeah.
But that's, what Borderlands is. It's absolutely right. You run through, you kill everything, you pick up the shiny stuff, and then you do it in the next zone, and you do it in the next zone. And that, to me, does not scream longevity. I will play this game, and I'll beat the main story, and maybe I will play it again as a different class with a different subclass and beat the story again. But that'll be it. There's nothing about looter shooters that keep me glued to them, but I do like Tiny Tina's Wonderland quite a lot. I'm gonna say it's pretty fresh.
And I will disagree. But, you know, honestly, if you like looter shooters, this game might be great for you, but I do not. So.
Cool. And Jahan, I see you've been playing some more Elden Ring. Assuming you're still liking that.
Yeah, man, I took a break. Like, I have all these other games I got, which I'll talk about a little later. I wound up picking up the Ukraine bundle from Humble Bundle, which I tried to share with a bunch of people. It was a crazy bunch of games. But yeah, Elden Ring, I went back to it to kind of clean the taste of Tiny Tina's out of my mouth a little bit. Because I don't have as much time to game these days, and I really want it to be fun. Elden Ring is fantastic, dude. Like, I went to a new zone. The quests are interesting. Like, you talk to the NPC, you don't have a quest tracker. It doesn't tell you, like, what you need to do. You talk to them, you listen to what they say, and then you figure out what you have to do. You know, I cleared a keep for this lord. He promised to knight me. And then, like, I met him at the keep, and, like, he had failed somehow, and was like, I'm not worthy to knight you. I don't know. It was cool. And then some other storyline where they set me on a quest for like a golden needle, but you have to figure out where it is. They do not tell you. They give you like a vague description. And I got into another awesome boss fight with this general guy that summons a ghost army. And it was just fantastic. I had a lot of fun. Elden Ring, I am a fan of Dark Souls. Dark Souls is not for everybody. Elden Ring it fixes so many of the problems simply by making it an open world. The fact that you're not stuck on the thing that's kicking your ass, you can just go somewhere else, is huge. It changes everything, and it makes the game way more fun, way more playable. And I don't know, I'm starting to get cool gear and stuff. It's starting to get more powerful, and I'm starting to feel it, and it's been really cool. And discovering secrets in that game remind me of old school video games where, like, man, you have to like read. Like, I remember in like Elder Scrolls games, I used to read like the novels, like the books, and like they would say stuff in there, and you could turn that information into gameplay. Like, I remember if you read all the books on necromancy, the actual books, you could figure out how to make black soul gems in the game. But they don't ever tell you. You know what I mean? It's like you have to do the deep dive on the lore to get some of the secrets. And Elden Ring has some of that. And it's rewarding.
I've heard so many good things about it that if one of the two following things happens, I will play it. Either one, it's added to Xbox Game Pass. I'll play it if it's on Game Pass. Or two, if it gets down in price to the point where it's $19.99, maybe $29.99, I might pick it up and try it and just give these games a try since this one's been such a phenomenon. But it'd have to be one of those. I just can't pay full price for it and then decide that it's just still not for me.
That's fair. I understand, you know, you tried Dark Souls and you didn't like it, and this is still a Souls game. And it's very much a Souls game.
So I bought a pack for PlayStation when I first got my PlayStation that was Dark Souls, I think 2 and 3. It might have been 3 and 4. And I played them, and I did not like them. And then I played the Star Wars Jedi...
Fallen Order. Jedi Star Wars
Fallen Order. Yeah. I played Fallen Order, did not like that.
Also,
so I think that I'm out on Souls games, but like Drew said, this one has been a phenomenon.
Yeah.
It looks, when I watch the videos, the boss fights are so cool and the animation is so cool that it just seems compelling enough that even if it's a Souls game, maybe it's just better than the other ones.
Yeah.
But maybe not. And I'm with Drew. I'm scared to spend $60 on it because
That's completely fair. I'm glad you guys...
Awesome, though.
I'm glad you guys are digging into the conversation a little bit here. Because it is very cool. You probably had Dark Souls 2 and 3. Dark Souls 2 is garbage. Like, universally reviled. 3 is good. 1 was the one I played mostly, and that one's fantastic. But that one is needlessly punishing. Yeah, you're running around. See, the thing about this game, the thing about Elden Ring, these are cool boss fights, man. These are cool boss fights. They're epic. They're devastatingly dangerous. And then on top of all that, you are traversing one of the most beautiful open worlds, man. It's
So
crazy.
Elden Ring to me almost looks like if you took away all the health in and all the puzzles in Zelda.
Kinda.
And then you told Link to go have a boss fight in every field instead of just a boss fight every couple hours. Everywhere there should be a puzzle, there's a boss fight instead. And
Kind
so
of.
it's almost like Zelda for adults to me. You just go and it's this dark Zelda world. There are no puzzles, there's just punishment around every corner. Another boss fight. Another interesting boss fight with all these different modes and morphs that you have to learn to fight the boss. Which is cool to me. Again, sorry to keep saying it's cool, but it's a boss fight. You know, everyone loves a good boss fight. That's what you always you're aiming for the boss fight. You're trying to get to the boss fight in every game.
Yeah.
So a game full of these boss fights just is so attractive. You know, you get to fight every puzzle in a 3D environment, and everything's going to change every time, basically. I'm excited, man. I really do think I'm going to like it, but I don't want to spend $60.
Yeah, I mean, it is Bandai Namco, and they put their games on sale. They do sales. It's not Nintendo. Nintendo never puts their games on sale. This game will probably drop in price, especially, if it becomes Game of the Year. You know, Game of the Year editions tend to be cheaper. They also tend to, like, when they hit gold or platinum or whatever, and this game probably will. So...
Elden Ring. Would you say it's fresh, Jahan?
Oh, certified fresh. I mean, it's a cultural phenomenon.
Nasty fresh.
It's nasty fresh. Absolutely. It's one of the single greatest games I've ever played.
Speaking of nasty fresh, I've been playing something I think that you would like, and maybe nobody else in the entire world.
That sounds. I do like those games. Yeah.
It is called Tainted Grail.
Oh yeah, Tainted Grail, based on the board game by Awakened Realms. Yeah.
See, I knew that you would like this. I knew. How did I know? So it actually is it's a roguelike deck builder. So I'm in, right? You've got me a roguelike deck builder. I'll at least give it a shot. And the world is covered in like shadowy darkness. So you have to have torches to figure out what you're going to fight, or what you're going to fight as a random enemy. And that's sort of how their map works. Every single time the game starts, you start in a village and you keep the people who you've brought to that village before. And the reason I played this game is because it's now on Game Pass. Tainted Grail is on Game Pass. So the 3D environment outside changes every time. Sometimes you're in the woods, sometimes you're in the mountains, the rivers, the monsters are different, the bosses are different, the loot is different, and the story, it's an RPG, the story is different every time. But your decisions from before sometimes matter and sometimes they don't. So it's a really neat RPG roguelike deck builder. It's very kind of grim, dark setting, and it's seemingly super lethal compared to the other roguelikes I've played. So if you're into punishing games, if you're into dark, kind of grim settings, fantasy worlds, I'd say pick it up. It's on Game Pass for free. Give it a shot. So, I like roguelike deck builders, though.
So yeah, so this is based off of a board game by Awakened Realms Publishing. They make one of my favorite board games, Nemesis, which is like an aliens, like a 5-hour-long slog through essentially the first Aliens movie. They make this game. They make several others that I have coming in Kickstarter right now. Tainted Grail was one that I missed out on, unfortunately, but it's based on like that Arthurian lore with like Avalon, King Arthur, Excalibur, that kind of stuff. And it looks like fun. I'm glad you liked it. I haven't tried this, and it is free, so I probably will.
Yeah, I think that you will like Tainted Grail. And Drew, I wouldn't be like, rush out, drop what you're doing, play Tainted Grail. Not at all. Roguelike game, dark, punishing. If you just want to sit around and play cards and lose all day by yourself, that's the game for you.
Man,
I like roguelike games. They help pass the time.
I feel like you've really become like the roguelike deck builder guy like lately? Like you're just crushing them, man. It's crazy. All the time you put in a monster train.
I still love Griftlands too. I'm still playing Griftlands back and forth, and I put like maybe 15, 16 hours into Griftlands, and I have not beat a single campaign yet. There are 3 characters, and each character has 7 stories, and I haven't beat the first story with a single character after 14 hours. So if you like roguelike games, you'll just sit around and lose by yourself all day. I'm okay with that, because then I'll get really, really good at the game, and I'll be
unstoppable. Is this the one that I was like, hey, Gary, I haven't played this, but I think you might like it?
Which one, Griftlands? Yeah, Griftlands is really good.
I'm looking at it right now. Yeah, no, it does look like fun.
If you can pick up Driftlands for, like, I don't know, maybe $25 or so, it's worth the pickup.
I also enjoy the roguelike deck builders. Hell yeah,
the
man.
The other game I've played on Game Pass, I would say Tainted Grail is, it's maybe not so fresh. I wouldn't pay money for it, but it's on Game Pass and it's free, and it's a deck builder, so I'll play it until it's not there.
Fair.
The other thing that's on Game Pass that just popped up is Crusader Kings 3, which I wanted to play it on PC months ago, and then I moved and reset up my stuff, and I'm just not really a PC gamer. I really never have been. I like my console, and so I didn't get around to it. And all of a sudden, kaboom! Crusader Kings 3 is on Xbox Series X on console, and it's in the Game Pass store for free, which is a bonus. Because I might have actually spent money on Crusader Kings 3. I'm glad I didn't have to. It is probably really fun, but you're managing a kingdom, and in that kingdom you're managing the 3 baronies. Or rather, inside your county, you have the 3 baronies, and your county is inside of a nation. And then the nation has a nation next to it, and a nation next to that. And you have to wind up having bannermen and assigning them names like Earl of Edinburgh, or else they won't respect you enough. Yeah. So you have to upgrade people. You have to pay for relationships. You have to marry off your kids to the next kingdoms over to form alliances.
I played the tutorial, man. This game is punishingly demanding. Like, the learning curve, man, and like everything you're saying, yeah, you have to like I gotta marry off this second nephew of mine to the proper family, otherwise disaster. And like,
yeah, otherwise you won't have the respect, you won't have the land, you won't have the income. And it's like that to like maybe the 1000th extent. So if you're somebody who really likes to micromanage like
micro,
yeah, and I'm talking about every single resource, like maybe there are close to 1,000 tabs you'll have to interact with throughout your regular duties, because you have to click on everyone, talk to everyone, move your army everywhere. There's not really an automated quick way to do it. And I thought Crusader Kings 3 would be a little bit more like Risk, with a political push to it, or a political edge.
I was hoping for like Civ or something, yeah.
It is so much more than that, and so much less than that. It is not a combat, walk your armies across, take over the world type of game. It can be once you start steamrolling, but it is very much a medieval role-play simulator as a head of a house, of all the political things you would have to do and all the people you have to schmooze.
It's like all the boring parts about running a kingdom. It's
not even like answering your vassals' calls for help. It's just all the boring parts.
It's really managing your vassals being mad at each other. It's like I don't want to do that. I don't know. I think it could be fun if once you get over like the steep learning curve and you master the use of the 1,000 tabs. But man, like even me, like I love those kinds of games. Like me and you both love Civ. You know, we love the complex strategy, the what do you call them, grand strategy games. You know, I've even Stellaris, which is complex as hell. This game I feel is a little bit more so, and I don't think that it's for me.
I missed Mount and Blade, because Mount and Blade I thought had a really good balance between the politics of being a medieval leader and the combat and the wars and just the way the combat was fought was fun enough. Crusader Kings is not like Mountain Blade. Crusader Kings is not like Risk. It's not like Civ. It is almost a tab simulator game, like Jahan said, where you try to keep your vassals from hating you or overthrowing you, while in the meantime trying to fight armies to take over land, and then have their people mad at you while you try to reinstate yourself as their new monarch. It's just maybe not for me, which to Jahan's point, I thought it would be. We like grand strategy games. I don't say Crusader Kings 3 is not fresh, and I'm glad I didn't spend $1 on it. I played it for maybe 3 or 4 hours. I'll probably play it for another 3 or 4 hours this week, maybe even 8, and maybe I'll report back next time and tell you I didn't hate it as much as I thought I would. But I almost uninstalled it after like the first 5-hour mark, 4-hour mark. It was like that's enough for me.
No,
I'll try to get back to it.
I too might give it another.
Jahan or Drew?
Yeah. So I wanted to talk. So I recently acquired a hilarious amount of games. I got, if you're familiar with the site Humble Bundle, right? You kind of pay what you want. And like they have really good deals. Like they have a subscription you can sign up for where you get to pick a game from a list every month for like $12. Sometimes there's like AAA titles, and you can get good deals. But they also do these massive bundles, and one of them was the Stand with Ukraine bundle. And because of the seriousness of the whole situation going on over there, and the fact they really want to help, they put a lot of stuff in this bundle. I'm not gonna lie, I got this mostly not for the games. I got this because it had some game development software in here that I was interested in, because I've been messing around with like making a video game, and like I wanted to check it out. They had some learning stuff here, like RPG Maker and that kind of stuff. That was worth the price of admission. I paid $45 for this whole bundle. And you can pay, I think you could get everything if you just paid $40. I paid a little extra because I was like, Ukraine, I want, go Ukraine.
$5 for the Ukrainian children.
$45. But
no, an extra $5.
An extra $5, yeah. But games include like This War of Mine, which is an award-winning game. Back for Blood was on this list. You get Back for Blood. They had like the Metro series was on here. That game Quantum Break, where you can like control time.
Is Back for Blood the sequel to Turning Red?
Come on, Gary. Come on. And then like the Fable Anniversary set and Spiral Reignited trilogy. Those are just some of the games. There's a bunch of, there's like Starbound. I've already listed enough games for it to be worth the $45, and I just like, seriously, there's like 40 games in this bundle. Wargroove, that's a fun one. If you liked Advance Wars, Wargroove is like a fantasy Advance Wars. Drawful, 911 Operator, which I actually am more excited to play than I want to admit. It sounds like fun. You're like controlling where like first responders go to try and like do a good job. Driftlands, which is not Griftlands, but it is Driftlands.
I think Driftlands is a top-down, like 3/4 rally car game.
No, that's not what this is. No, this is okay. Driftland, the Magic Revival. But I see what you're saying. Book of Demons looks fun. Just so many games. And like, I don't know when I'm going to have the time to play them all. There was also a surprising amount of VR content in here. Slinger Vr, which is a game where in VR you can like Spider-Man swing around on like these ropes and you go through obstacle courses and like race people, which sounds like a lot of fun. I don't have a VR headset yet, but when I do, I have like 6 games already. Man, there's just so many games, and then on top of that, there was also Pathfinder and Starfinder Second Edition, which are Pathfinder Second Edition, Starfinder First Edition, which are TTRPGs from Paizo Entertainment. It is essentially like old school Dungeons and Dragons, like Third Edition, and that was part of this bundle too. There's also a bunch of comic books, like The Boys. There's a couple of The Boys books. Just a ridiculous amount of content, man. RPG Maker was the primary reason I got this, because honestly, the $45 is worth it just for that. And on top of that, I got like 2 RPG books and then a bunch of other software and then a bunch of video games. Like a serious, ridiculous amount of video games that I'll never be able to play. I played a couple of them. Some of them were kind of meh. I played this game called Earth X, in where it's like a really indie game that could have been better, but you're trying to like launch stuff into space, essentially. And it was fine. It was fun for a minute. And then, what was the game? Oh, man. One of them, I'm going to check real quick. One of them I played, I will actually say, kind of surprised me a lot. Which one was it? I have it. It's one of my ones that's installed. So it's, oh yeah, Crying Sons. So Crying Sons surprised me.
That's the sequel to Crying Daughters.
Crying Sons is a sci-fi epic kind of thing. It's an indie game. It has like those pixel art looks, but like they do it in an interesting way. So like you have like everyone's pixels, right? And then you're standing in front of this like window into space as you're piloting your spaceship, essentially. You're telling it to go places. The whole thing like moves, and like it gives you a real sense of like traveling through space, and it looks really cool. And the story so far has been interesting, and you're kind of doing like these ship battles, like a tactics game. And so there's definitely some quality here. And that's what I've been doing with my time, including playing Timberborn.
Well, speaking of ship battles, I got to the end of Our Flag Means Death. It's an HBO Max show directed by Taika Waititi. I talked about it last time, I think at length. I really think you guys should watch this.
I watched a few episodes.
I watched the first episode.
I watched several, and it was funny. I was laughing pretty hard. The whole flag situation was really funny. I liked when that dude came on their boat and like towards the beginning. Was that the first episode? The guy he knew from like private school or whatever?
Yes.
Yeah, that was funny, man. That was really funny. And like the whole accidental death thing, hilarious beyond all. Like I knew exactly what he was doing when he picked up the whale. I was like, oh no, that guy, I don't know. It was so good. The characters are great. The humor is great. Taika Waititi, when he finally showed up, was hilarious. And that whole thing where they're looking at they're making fun of the homemade pirate flags in front of the pirates, and they're like defending. That was top tier comedy, dude.
That type of comedy sticks around. They come across some more ruthless bands of pirates that are much more ruthless than them. And after a while, they kind of start winning people over to be a little bit more like them. Like, hey, whenever there's a problem with the crew, what do? Talk it out. Like, all we'll say it together.
Yeah, it's really funny. And then I was really happy to see, what's her, Leslie Jones, I believe her name is.
Yes, that's right.
She's in this. I wasn't expecting her. And it's
Not only is she in it, Fred Armisen is the bartender.
Fred Armisen's in it. Yeah,
and
man,
there's so many husbands.
It's such a good. It is really. It's a delightful show. It's very funny. It's easy watching. You could probably watch it with kids, even though there is some violence and references. But
I'm a big fan of Our Flag Means Death. The way the series finale. Sort of a lot happens in the last 2 episodes, and they kind of take you on this real like emotional journey. They really ask you to come along on this emotional journey in the last 2, because at some point I was kind of thinking, where is this show going? It sort of reminds me of What We Do in the Shadows, which is just kind of a show about vampires doing nothing.
No.
And I almost didn't want to watch pirates do nothing, except that it's very funny, and I would probably watch a few seasons of it. But the way that the season ends is on a much more emotional note. And it ends in a place where I, even now, having watched it a week or 2 ago, am still curious where they're going to go with it. I'm curious for season 2. I want to see more. I'm excited with the way it ended. It was a good season finale. That's Our Flag Means Death on HBO Max. It's only 10 episodes, and I think each one runs about 20 minutes or so. They're not
It's
long
very funny.
episodes.
I'd say it's certified fresh
Super
out the
fresh.
box.
Yes. Also on HBO Max. While I'm here, let me just talk about Winning Time, and then I'll pass the floor.
I'm all caught up on this one.
Okay, cool. I think I'm also caught up on Winning Time. Winning Time is HBO Max show. I've talked about it before. It is the story of Magic Johnson sort of making his rookie debut in the NBA, along with the story of Dr. Jerry Buss, who is buying the failing LA Lakers during a failing time for the NBA. And he spends every last dime he has basically just buying the team. So paying anybody's checks or establishing events, paying for shirts and marketing, he doesn't really have the money for that. But no one knows that. He's just a very this is John C. Reilly plays Jerry Buss. So he's just a very magnetic character who always acts like everything's perfect and a ray of sunshine, and he's got it going on. And so it's great to see. It's just a great performance by John C. Reilly, and it's a fun story. It's a period piece in the early '80s, I guess, late '70s, early '80s, and so a lot of the film has that same approach. A lot of the shots are the same, and they use some filters, I think, to make it look vintage, which is a fun thing. A lot of the shots don't add up, and sometimes there are weird shots of people's hands when it should be shots of people's faces. Things like that, things from that era. I like Winning Time, and I'm not a big sports guy. If you're looking for a dramedy to watch, and especially if you're looking for a dramedy and you're a fan of John C. Reilly, because I am both of those things, and though I don't give a damn about basketball, I do enjoy Winning Time. It's sort of like how I didn't care about soccer and I still love Ted Lasso. I don't care about basketball and I still like Winning Time.
Yeah, I really like this show. It started off strong, I feel like, and it's only continued to get better. I thought the most recent episode, at the time we're recording this, there have been 4 total. So the 4th episode gets more into the basketball of it all, and I really liked to see that. I thought it started picking up with that. But yeah, I mean, as you kind of said, it's kind of covering the whole 80s Showtime era of the Lakers and how they got into that and kind of revamped a lot of things in the NBA, really.
And sports in general, a lot of sports kind of followed that same kind of celebrity method. Putting celebrities on the front row and putting cheerleaders in scantily clad outfits instead of dressed in sweaters with long skirts. The Lakers made some changes to sports. I think that, definitely American sports.
And I think one of the things that has caught me off guard with the show is just how many people are in this show. Like, everybody's in this show. Because John C. Reilly's in it, as you said. The guy who plays Magic Johnson's named Quincy Isaiah, and I think he's kind of a relatively unknown. But, Jason Clarke plays Jerry West, and Adrian Brody is in it as Pat Riley. And then Tracy Letts just showed up in the most recent episode as Jack McKinney. But Jason Segel, is playing his assistant coach. I can't think of his name. Paul Westhead, is that right? But then, yeah, I mean, it's just Sally Field, isn't it? I'm sure there's more people that I haven't even touched on, but it's like everybody's in this show. So that's been really enjoyable to watch. It's just like, who's going to show up next?
The scenes with the coach seeing basketball like jazz, and the plays coming off of the page and just flying all around him in his mind while he just sits in his office, and then you see him levitating out of his chair. I liked that. I thought that was a real cool way to show his creative process and his coaching in his mind. And there was some things like that in Wu-Tang Saga as well that I liked a whole lot, but with music instead of basketball. So I thought that was a really cool scene. That's all I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I'm totally in for this show. I'm on board. It's that, Sunday night. I think you mentioned that last time. It's taking the Sunday night slot.
Yeah, it's taken that spot of Sopranos and Game of Thrones and Band of Brothers and Peacemaker and Sunday night HBO show. You can almost guarantee it's going to be a pretty good show. They've been putting on good Sunday night shows for like 15, 20 years now.
And speaking of, I think the House of the Dragon, the new Game of Thrones show, has a official air date now. I think it's like August 21st or something like that. So
is that show gonna be like terrible?
It could go either way, man. I hope it's good. I am looking forward to it. It's got Matt Smith in it. I'm excited for that. And they're dealing with a period of time in Westeros that
Matt Smith from the fan favorite Morbius.
Morbius, film. That's right.
Glad we get to talk about that 2 weeks in a row.
And Doctor Who. But yeah.
No, but we're talking about what fans actually like.
Yeah.
That would be Morbius.
Oh, yeah, Morbius. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, you can't even remember his name. Can't even remember his name in the other thing.
That's really funny. All right. No, that's a good one. But yeah, no, I'm actually pretty hopeful for the House of the Dragon. I don't have high expectations though. I am just hopeful.
I just think it's going to be real bad.
It might.
I want it to be good. Also, I like swords and dragons, so I don't want it to be bad. I have a feeling.
My thinking is Game of Thrones, like, ran for a long time denying us the things that it promised, which were the undead and dragons, and like they did not deliver on those promises forever, right? It sounds like they're just upfront, like, hey, here's the dragons and stuff you guys were bitching about not having. So maybe it's good, you know?
My main thing, not to speculate too much, but regardless of whether House of Dragons is good or bad, the thing for me is that, like, since Game of Thrones ended, I haven't been sitting here hungry for more Game of Thrones. Like, It ended, and I'm good, you know? And we're going to get more of it, and I'll watch it, and... you know, I'll check it out for sure, but I'm not sitting here like, oh, you know, my mouth is watering, like, give me more Game of Thrones. Not at all.
I think it'll be better than Wheel of Time, and we'll see how Lord of the Rings comes out, because that's the real question, right? Is what's going to be better this year, Lord of the Rings or this Game of Thrones that nobody wants? That's the real question.
I know where I'm putting my money, but yeah.
You're a Lord of the Rings guy, huh? You think the $10 billion an episode or whatever is gonna work out?
I think it's gonna. I mean, if it doesn't, shame on you, Amazon. I don't know. They have the budget. Like, it better be good. If it's not good, hire writers. You have the budget. Like, no excuses. There are no excuses for that being a bad show. Unless, like, Jeff Bezos is, like, hell-bent on being involved in the process and he just ruins it, but...
This is a topic I'd love to come back to in a later episode. Yes. When both shows have come out. I would love to talk about it.
I can't wait for this conversation, yes.
Yeah, I'm excited. Earmark this one.
Well, we've talked about games and TV shows. I have a bunch of movies to go through, because I've watched a lot here recently. First off, I will talk about the movie called X. Have y'all heard of X?
I think so.
Yeah, man, it's what you take at a club to have a good time.
That's a good joke.
Thanks.
This is a slasher film that's in theaters. It's a Blumhouse movie, and it's basically about a group of young people who are filming a pornographic film, and the movie starts out and they're in Houston. They're leaving Houston and they go outside of Houston, basically to an old man's home where he has like a guest house, and they're staying at his guest house, but he doesn't know that they are there to film a porno. And his wife is old and creepy, and of course there are shenanigans that then happen during the course of their stay at this old man and woman's house.
I do want to see this
premise. Yeah.
No spoilers.
It is it's really good. If you are a fan of the slasher genre, absolutely check this out. It is kind of a breath of fresh air. It's an original horror movie. I
Right?
had a lot of fun with it. Exactly. We're not a remake, not anything. This
It's
is
not
an original.
Halloween 12, the Halloweeniest. Yeah.
It's directed.
That's my favorite Halloween, by the way.
It's directed and written by a guy named Ty West, and I had a ton of fun with this. It's got Mia Goth in it, Jenna Ortega, who she was in the newest Scream movie, and she's in this, so seems like she's making the horror rounds. Kid Cudi's in it, Brittany Snow. I don't know. It's good. It's fun. I had a great time with it, and as a kind of slight, not a spoiler for what happens in the movie, but at the end of the credits, there's a trailer for a prequel movie to this one. So the director actually filmed this movie and a prequel back to back during the time and budget he had. So I will be excited to see that. And I mentioned recently how I had watched Texas Chainsaw Massacre relatively recently, so seeing this, it had a lot of tributes to it and to a bunch of other horror movies. But I had a great time with this. I'd recommend it. It's only in theaters right now. I don't know when it'll be streaming or on demand or anything like that. But I had a great time with this.
Certified fresh?
Certified fresh.
Hell yeah. Out of the box. We have to say that last part.
Certified fresh out the box, for sure.
I don't get in trouble.
The next movie is Death on the Nile. This is the newest whodunit, directed by Kenneth Branagh, and it features the famed detective Hercule Poirot. And this is, basically the sequel to Murder on the Orient Express that came out about 5 years ago. This is an old Agatha Christie book, so there's been interpretations of this before, but this is the newest one that stars, Gal Gadot's in it, Annette Bening, and Russell Brand, and a whole bunch of people are in
Russell Brand? He hasn't been in anything.
Yeah, he's in it. He plays the Doctor.
Welcome back, Russell Brand.
But have either of y'all
he's been busy fucking your mother.
Okay, so anyways, Jahan, thank you for that. Now, did either of y'all see Murder on the Orient Express, the Kenneth Branagh one? No. Okay. I mean, it's just more of the same. If you like whodunits, maybe this is for you. I thought this one's kind of slow. I'll say this. It's 2 hours and 7 minutes long with credits. I checked the death on the Nile referred to in the title, the actual whodunit regarding the murder. The murder doesn't happen till like an hour and 5 minutes into the movie. So take that for what it's worth. I just thought it was kind of a slog to get there, but once we got there, I get they have to introduce all the characters, but once they got to it and the whodunit starts, it's entertaining enough. But overall, it is just fine. I would say it's certified meh out the box, is what I'd say.
Yeah, I actually looked at this the other day. I pulled it up, I looked at the cast, and then I was like, is this a comedy? I was like, no, I don't think it is. All right, I'm not watching this.
Nope, this is a whodunit, is what I'd call it. So
it can be a whodunit and a comedy, but last time that happened, it was one of those terrible Adam Sandler Netflix movies, and boy, was that bad.
Ooh, murder mystery?
Ooh, and how can I forget the name?
Yeah, I believe they're making a sequel to it, because it was streamed by so many people.
What are you talking about?
Oh, you never saw the Adam Sandler movie called Murder Mystery?
No.
Adam Sandler and Jennifer Aniston, and was on Netflix.
Oh my god, this sounds terrible.
It was.
It's bad.
I mean, I am kind of interested to see Death on the Orient Express. I did really like Knives Out. That's the most recent whodunit I feel like I've seen, and that one was really good.
Knives Out is kind of, is the best modern version of a whodunit we've probably had in a long time.
Since Clue.
If you haven't seen Knives Out and you're trying to debate between seeing
Have you not seen Knives Out, Gary?
I don't think so.
It's
No.
very good.
Oh yeah, I'd say definitely watch Knives Out before you'd watch Death on the
Yeah,
Nile.
no. If you're gonna watch any whodunit, Knives Out's the best one around right now.
I think when Knives Out came out, I was at a time when I wasn't watching anything with any violence at all.
So you're not gonna have to worry too much. It's not really very triggering.
Okay.
I think that like you might see. I don't even know if they ever show the body. Honestly,
Yeah, Knives Out's good.
it's really it's not too triggering.
Ryan
think
Johnson wrote and directed that one, and there's a sequel coming out this year because Netflix purchased the rights to the sequels, and so Knives Out 2 will be out in the fall and has another big, it's big cast. Knives Out, the first one, Daniel Craig plays the detective, but of course it's got like, gosh, everybody's in that movie. Chris Evans and Jamie Lee Curtis and Ana de Armas and Christopher Plummer, and there's a whole bunch of people. The newest one, I know, like Dave Bautista's in it, and
yeah.
Kate Hudson and Edward
I
Norton.
do love me some Batisters.
I love me some Batistas too.
I also love Eddie Norton.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I seriously, I can't recommend Knives Out enough. Check it out. I don't think it should be.
Where it's streaming off the top of your head?
I believe it's on Prime Video.
I could go check Prime after this.
It was at some point. It should be streaming somewhere.
Yeah, no, you should watch it after this. It's a good movie. But anyways, sorry, didn't mean to
Speaking
derail.
of, hey, that actually links to the next one because Ana de Armas is the lead of the first Knives Out, and she's the lead of another movie that I watched called Deep Water. This is an interesting movie because it is directed by Adrian. First off, it's directed by Adrian Lyne, and he is a famous director known for like erotic thrillers. Kind of one of the originals. He did Flashdance and Fatal Attraction and things like that, like back in the day. He hasn't directed a movie in like 20 years, and he came, I don't know if he was in retirement, but basically came back and decided to film this movie called Deep Water. Stars Ben Affleck and Ana de Armas, and this is while Ben Affleck and Ana de Armas were in a relationship during COVID. Ben Affleck broke up with Jennifer Garner and then was with Ana de Armas for a hot minute, and then they split, and now he's back with Jennifer Lopez. In fresh out the pop culture minute here. That's the update there. But so while Ben Affleck and Ana de Armas were together, they filmed this erotic thriller with Adrian Lyne, and then before it could come out, they broke up. So the studio was like, I don't know what to do with this movie, and so it just kind of got dumped quietly on Hulu. There was like no big like media hoopla about it, but it's there. And I watched it, and it's fine. It's kind of fun, but dumb. I won't go too much into the plot of it. I mean, it's an erotic thriller with Ben Affleck and Ana de Armas. What more do you need to know? Ben Affleck's kind of in Gone Girl mode.
I have a question. Do you see Ben Affleck's hammer?
No, you do not.
All right.
Only the worthy can lift Ben Affleck's hammer.
I'm gonna pass on that one then. No Mjolnir.
I think you see him with a literal hammer, like the tool.
That's
not
not
what
what I'm talking about.
not what I believe.
Honestly,
you were referencing.
that's an interesting note. I appreciate it, Drew.
But yeah, I mean, it's fine if you like this genre. Sure, check it out. Why not? It's fun.
Erotic thrillers? Is that the genre that you're?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
okay.
it's the genre.
Just checking.
It's a thing, John. That was a big thing in the 80s, especially.
I don't know why it's funny. I need to grow up, I guess.
I think they kind of fell out of style, but that was like a big deal back in like Fatal Attraction, those movies, and then I think it just, I don't know if people grew up from them or what, but it was a thing.
Everyone in my family is an adult, but we do watch a lot of movies together, and I don't think I want to become aroused around my family. So,
Well, why not? I become aroused around your family all the time.
boom, he got me.
The next movie I was going to talk about is probably a bit of a weird movie for me to talk about on this show because I don't think it would appeal to anybody in our audience, but I will mention it because I thought it was very powerful. It's a movie called Mass. and this is like an actor showcase. This stars Reed Birney, Ann Dowd, Jason Isaacs, and Martha Plimpton. So it's like a very small cast. Takes place all in one room. But
who is there? Who plays Commander Shepard?
I get it. I get your joke there. With this, so Mass Effect. That's a Mass Effect joke for anybody.
That's Mass Effect all day.
No, this is Reed Birney, Ann Dowd, Jason Isaacs.
Yes.
Okay, just make sure I have the right one pulled up here.
Yeah, and this movie could actually be potentially triggering to some people, so I want to give that acknowledgement. But it's a small movie about a couple of grieving parents who, looking at Wikipedia, their description says it stars grieving parents who meet to discuss a tragedy involving their sons. Which what that's not saying, and which I'll outright say, is it's about the parents of a son who committed a mass shooting at a school, meeting with the parents of a son who was killed in that mass shooting. That it's been like an ongoing thing. So it's a very powerful movie. If you like any of these actors, I'd watch it. It's not a movie you like go around recommending to people like, hey, make sure you go watch this movie. But
it sounds pretty upsetting. Yeah.
But it was very powerful. So I just wanted to mention it because I did watch it. So that's called Mass. It's on Hulu now, streaming. But the complete opposite of that is the Disney Plus original film remake of Cheaper by the Dozen, starring Gabrielle Union and Zach Braff. I
almost watched this. I was so close.
Here's all I'll say about it, because I don't think anybody needs me to go into detail about this movie. You know exactly what you're getting.
They have a lot of kids, and it's funny.
This movie is what happens nowadays when in 2022 an AI were to create a movie with the prompt family movie night. That is what spits out this movie. It's, obviously you've got Zach Braff, Gabrielle Union, so you have a large mixed race family. There's a lot of references to like social movements in this movie. Totally fine. Like, but the way that it's integrated in is like an AI said, this is how we have to make movies now. And so
they just like painted it on top. Like this is the skeleton of a movie painted with all the 2022 things that people want to hear.
It's a bit surface level, I'll put it that way. Almost like doing it not because they wanted to, but maybe because they felt like they had to. I don't want to make any assumptions. That sounds probably very terrible. But this movie was probably more fun than it had any right to be, but it definitely comes off like a Disney Channel original movie.
I always liked the story Cheaper by the Dozen in its written form. And then I even kind of like the Steve Martin movie.
And that one's, I'd say, better than this one.
Okay.
This one, it's just goofy. So that's it. I don't really have much to say about it other than I watched it. If you find this interesting, or if you think this might be charming, you'll probably find something to be enjoyed out of it. But it's not like a great movie. But if you have younger kids, like maybe in the like 8 to 10 range, and you're like, hey, let's have a family movie night, like this is a perfect movie to watch.
Yeah, this makes me remember, I can't remember what the movie was, but like it was when my aunt, uncle, and cousin were all living here after their house flooded. They lived with us for like 6 months, and we were doing movie nights all the time. And we found it was a family movie, and I just can't remember for the life of me what it was called, but it was so bad, but we watched the whole thing anyways. I don't remember what it was. That's all I got.
Well, anyway, that's Cheaper by the Dozen. I'm almost done, I promise. Because that's a lot of movies back to back to back. I rewatched Interstellar, Christopher Nolan movie. I've been watching a few of the older Nolan movies just because. And I had not rewatched Interstellar since seeing it in theaters, and it's still a solid movie. I think I thought I was going to like it more on a rewatch than I did. I still think it's really great, but I stick with that. It's just really great.
It is. It is pretty good.
I haven't seen Interstellar. Should I see Interstellar?
It's pretty good, man. I really like the way that they deal with like gravitational time dilation and like that kind of thing, and
yeah, gravity plays a big role and how it controls time.
Which is true.
Yes. So like Gary, as an example, and this is the type of thing that I think's most interesting about the movie. First off, it takes place kind of on like a not post-apocalyptic Earth, because it's not, but it like takes place in the future where the Earth is just kind of being ravaged.
It's like pre-apocalyptic.
Storms. And so, plants aren't growing as much, like Earth is basically dying. And so they're trying to find a new habitable planet for Earth. And Matthew McConaughey's this pilot, former space pilot, and gets sent on this trip. And Matthew McConaughey's actually really great in this movie. I think it's one of his better performances.
Yeah, I agree. He does a good job.
But they go through a like a black hole in the movie. That's a big
essentially,
plot
yeah.
point. And so when they are on the other side and they're trying to explore the other planets, like because of one of the planets' location in comparison to the black hole, time on that planet moves differently. So like if they were to go to that planet, spending an hour on that planet would be the equivalent of 7 years on Earth. So they're like in part of this journey having to make risks and time things out because there's limited time left of Earth. So if they are there for too long, they could kind of screw everything.
It's very interesting.
It plays with a lot of those kinds of concepts.
Yeah, they do a lot of that stuff. I know, like, a lot of space movies stumble when they deal with that subject matter. I feel like they do it very well in this. And it's very new. Like, it's fresh, because like a lot of space movies are the same thing. It's like, oh no, like our air, it's gone, and then
that's exactly
like that's
what I thought this was like, oh no, I'm stranded in space. Oh no,
that's like 1 part disaster movie, 2 parts space movie, and then like 1 part like science fiction, like pretty high. I don't know.
Okay.
It's pretty solid, man. I like it.
Yeah, it sounds pretty good.
It's good. I would recommend it. I think it's my favorite of Christopher Nolan's movies that aren't involving Batman.
It's up there on my space movie list too.
Yeah, it's very good. It's long though. It's like a good 2 hours and 40.
Yeah, it's pretty long.
It's a long one, but it's good.
Go pee before you start the movie and bring a pillar.
Yeah, it's up there. See, I don't know what. I'd have to think about like my top space movies, but this is probably this is definitely my top 10.
Is it better than Jason X?
No.
Gonna go out on a limb and say that it probably is better than
Jason X is. Oh man, Drew, have you not seen Jason X?
I have not seen Jason X.
You haven't seen? Oh man, it's like, God, I want to explain the plot to you.
It is like Jason mixed with Power Rangers.
It's like Jason. Yeah, it's like Jason. I mean, it's Jason in space, and like I guess it's like an archaeological survey, like space people, and there's like this frozen, like, oh yeah, there's this like cryo jail that we recently unearthed, and they like take his pod onto the ship and he thaws out, and then from there it's pretty standard like Friday the 13th, like killing people while they're having sex kind of stuff. It's pretty funny.
Friday the 13th is actually admittedly kind of a blind spot for me. I've seen the original Friday the 13th. Which, as everybody knows now, like it's Jason's mom is the killer in that one. Like it's not even Jason. So I've seen that one, and then that's it. That's all I've seen of the original ones, and I've seen the remake that came out in like 20. I don't know what year it came out.
2009.
Yeah, And I remember actually thinking that one was kind of fun for what it was. I just remember, I think we've talked about this moment on this podcast before, but there's a part where he stabs the machete down into the dock and it goes into the girl's head. That's the part I remember from that movie.
Yeah.
You don't remember the part whenever it cuts to him for no reason? He has a bow and then shoots an arrow like 300 yards across the lake and hits a lady who's skiing topless right in between the chest. You don't remember that?
I didn't remember that. That sounds great.
Right at the third.
There's a lot of great. See, Jason Voorhees, I feel like he's pretty. It's very standard. Like it's like, people gonna die. Like he'll do a funny situational death essentially to everybody. I don't know. He's almost the formula itself. You know.
Drew, this next movie, it looks like it's called Polanski.
Yes, this movie's called After Yang.
That's a shout out to my friend Chris Polanski. His wife's name was Yang, and then she got married, and so now it's Polanski. Get it?
I get it.
Thanks, Drew. Drew sold it big for me.
So, After Yang was actually released at Sundance this year, back in January, and it is already on Showtime.
Is that the Penguin?
What, Sundance? What's this joke you're making? Your joke went over my head. Explain your joke to me so I can see how funny it is.
The actor, the guy.
Oh, it is the Penguin.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
It stars Colin Farrell.
Yeah.
Gary's favorite.
There you
go. Sorry, I missed where you were going with it. No, this is it premiered at Sundance. It's on debuted on Showtime, so I watched this through Hulu with Showtime. But it is a A24 movie about a family that has an android, and his name is Yang, and he malfunctions, and they're trying to kind of figure out what's wrong with him, or trying to get him working again.
Interesting.
It takes place in the future. This movie is good. It's kind of an art film. So, it has this kind of sci-fi premise, like I said, but it's portrayed really as an art film, so I put that out there. I think it's good and it's very well done, but man, it's only an hour and a half long, but like it feels like 3 hours when you're watching it.
Like, I don't know if that's an endorsement.
That seems horrible.
I just have to be honest with it. Like, I think this movie is very... Okay, let me take a step back. The last act of this movie, the very end of this movie, pulled it all together for me really well, and I thought it was very powerful and moving. But a lot of getting to that point was like... just like it took its nice slow steps to get there.
Better or worse than Bicentennial Man?
Better than Bicentennial Man. Not as good as Artificial Intelligence.
So right between Haley Joel Osment and and
Robin Williams.
Robin Williams, yeah.
Yeah, I really like AI. This one, it takes itself very seriously, and it's good. Colin Farrell is very good in it. But yeah, this is a very quiet movie. But I just wanted to note that I had seen it, and if it sounds interesting to you, then you should check it out.
Kind of does.
Just, this is not like a blockbuster for the masses, so I'll put it that way.
I really liked AI. I really liked Bicentennial Man. I greatly enjoyed Ex Machina. I feel like I like the whole Android thing. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's After Yang on show. It's on Showtime. You can watch it there, and that's it. That's all the movies I've been watching. But it was a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot of movies. You've been doing some film watching. How are your eyes treating you, buddy?
They're good. They're good.
Good. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, you watch a lot, man. That's not a joke.
I watched all those, but to be fair, I did not watch as much TV this time. Like I'm up to date with Winning Time, and I'm caught up on. I watched the Halo show and Moon Knight, and like that's pretty much all I've been watching on the TV front. So to be fair, I've just been putting my time in the movies.
Yeah, man, you've been putting it down. Yeah, the only thing I had to talk about, and like briefly, me and Jen have been rewatching the Harry Potter movies, because she's only seen like them once and like a long time ago, and I've seen them lots because that's the kind of watcher I am. I like to rewatch things. We just finished Half-Blood Prince. Honestly, I mean, in a lot of ways, some of the movies are better than I remember.
Actually,
in a lot of ways,
these are all pretty relatively fresh for me because I watched all of these during quarantine.
Yeah,
when COVID first started. So I've somewhat recently rewatched all the Harry Potter movies, with the exception of the Fantastic Beasts movies, which I still I'm gonna try to revisit because from the time this episode drops,
honestly,
next week, the new Fantastic Beasts movie will be out, which I actually haven't seen. The second Fantastic Beasts movie. I've only seen the first.
I actually really liked the first one. The first Fantastic Beasts. I thought the first one was really cool. I enjoyed the time period in which it takes place. I enjoyed seeing American wizards. I enjoyed, the culture shock. I enjoyed the creatures. I really liked the characters a lot.
The second movie is more of the same. If you liked the first one, you'll like the second one.
The second one, I felt was not as good, but it was watchable. It wasn't like but I am upset. Like I understand why they did it, but
I own it on 4K Blu-ray and haven't watched it. Never seen it.
Like I understand why they recast him, and I support that decision. Whatever. It is what it is, I guess. But just the fact that the main villain is going to be a different person kind of sucks. Just in general.
For me though, I love Mads Mikkelsen, so it makes me want to catch up on the other ones to be able to go see the new one because
he does look like he's going to do a good job. I don't know. It's just it's never fun when they have to recast for non-story reasons and stuff like that. It's just never fun.
Very true.
That was Johnny Depp's character, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You know what? I'm fine with it being recast because Johnny Depp was just kind of Johnny Depp in that role, anyways. There was nothing outstanding about that character. It wasn't like recasting Heath Ledger's Joker.
You're
just recasting pale Johnny Depp standing there with contacts in.
It's fair.
And we've been beating this drum for a while, but I know Gary's not a fan, but I really like Colin Farrell, and I really liked Colin Farrell in the first one, and I liked his reveal as the villain, and then it turned out to be Johnny Depp in disguise. So it just kind of seemed like that moment was more of like a, hey, look, you got. Here's this other actor to deflect from the fact that we just gave Colin Farrell the short straw. And then
I never thought about it like that. That is kind of bust. It's like, hey, all of Colin Farrell's good acting and coolness, and here you go, Johnny Depp.
It was Johnny Depp the whole time.
That's how good of an actor he is.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not the biggest Johnny Depp fan, anyways.
I'm not the biggest either. I mean, I really like him at Pirates, and certain other things he's pretty good at. I don't know. I'm still gonna watch this movie. I'm still probably gonna like it because I'm a Potter guy.
Oh, speaking of Potter guy, marijuana was legalized in my state just yesterday.
Congratulations!
Now I'm a Potter guy too. Thanks.
Congratulations! Yeah, Gary moved to New Mexico, and they almost immediately legalized pot just for him. Pretty flippin' sweet. Yeah. And then also, speaking of Potter guys, I'm still really excited for the video game. I know that you guys had been talking about and looking at it recently. That it looks the Legacy of Hogwarts looks like it's going to be one of the best. It's going to be a top tier game. I think it's going to be really good.
Yeah, we never talked about that on the show, but Sony actually did the PlayStation State of Play on that game, which it's going to be multi-platform. It'll be on Xbox also. But man, yeah, I thought it looked great. I thought it looked super fun. It looks
really good. You get to pick your house. It's open world. You attend classes. It takes place in the past a bit. I think the early 1900s or the late 18. I don't know. It doesn't take place in modern day necessarily. And you get to travel around and do cool fights and stuff. I don't know.
The only thing they have to do now is make it 4-player co-op.
They're pretty sick.
One step at a time.
I think they've confirmed that it is single player and no microtransactions or anything like that.
I'll play it. It looks really cool. I hope that enough people buy it and play it that they make the next one multiplayer. That's all I'm saying. If we ask for it, we'll get what we want.
Heck yeah, and Gary and I could play together and fly around on our little broomsticks.
Oh, man, we can play Quidditch.
I was thinking you could do Quidditch, right?
I want to play Quidditch in VR. I think that'd be fun.
You have to be the seeker when you play Quidditch in that game, or you think you get to choose your position?
Every other position is completely moot.
No, I want to play the bludger.
No, none of the other rules matter.
Yeah, the beater, or isn't it? It's called the beater, and the ball is
the bludger is the
bludger. Is that right?
The bludger. Yeah, but your job is to
remember. There's a ball called the quaffle.
The quaffle. Yeah. All right, so the quaffle is the main ball that's
the one you
handled.
Use to score points.
Yeah, and then the beaters beat the blodger, which is like the cursed living cannonball that like attacks.
Yeah, so you like try to knock people. You try to knock people out with a cannonball.
No, what's stupid, Drew, is the fact that whoever catches the snitch gets 150 points for their team.
Yeah, the point system for Quidditch makes no sense.
Every goal you score is like 10 points or something.
That's because Quidditch games can go on for days and days and days at the Quidditch World Cup. It doesn't just end in a couple hours. So catching the snitch doesn't really always win the game for you.
Yeah, but if you're behind by 150 points...
It happens.
I don't know, man.
It happens at the Quidditch World Cup.
My favorite's all the people that play Quidditch in real life that like run around in fields.
Hilarious, and I like it.
All of those people are a bunch of weebs.
So you use that word wrong, first off. Second off, I salute you, Quidditch players of the world. And
I know.
Third off, fuck you.
You're a bunch of big old nerds.
Nerds is fine.
I still think there's something to being a beater and just smashing people in the face with a ball. I don't know how you guys don't think that seems like fun.
I think it seems like fun. No. But yeah. So, hey, that's fresh out the Potter. You guys got anything else?
Actually, the reason Drew came back a few minutes late was because he was fresh off the Potter.
That's true.
That is true.
That's true.
Oh boy. Well, this has been episode 40 of Fresh Out the Podcast.
Man, we're almost at a year here.
Drew Munhausen. Yeah, you can find me at Drew Munhausen on Twitter. Yeah, episode 40. We'll only
12 more weeks.
And we've been doing this for a full year. Getting close.
Crazy.
Wow.
But yeah, he's been Drew. Yeah, Drew Munhausen. Check him out. Look at him. Just look at his face.
Where can everybody find y'all?
Hey, I'm Johanan. I'm at RockFact on Twitter, at Johanan1 on TikTok, and that's where you can find me and talk to me and love me, and I'm a cool guy.
I'm Casualty CDG, and you can find me at Casualty CDG. If you like tabletop role-playing games like Dungeons & Dragons, except not Dungeons & Dragons, Jahan and I play tabletop games 3 nights a week. Right now, we're playing Icons by Steve Kinson, where I play as a teleporting duplicator. We're also playing Wild Sea by Felix Isaacs, where I play as a sentient colony of spiders. And of course, we have our recurring Modern Age game every other Friday. Also, tell your friends to go and give us a couple of 5 stars or something like that in the Apple iMusic store. However you do that, we love you.
Stay fresh, everyone.